My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I, 41F, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 48M, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend, 18F, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy, our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because, over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fucked up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any fucking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Further information from OOP. To not have my initial post be long-winded because I didn't think I needed to get into the minutiae of this, I didn't bother going into those details. How I inadvertently saw it was this: he was on his phone. He did not have iMessage open currently on the screen, but the application was still open. You know how on the iPhone when you swipe up and it shows all of the applications that are open and you can close them. When he was closing out the applications, something he does compulsively, I noticed it. It's not like he was some kind of idiotic buffoon having iMessage open for all to see. I saw he forgot he had the application running when he swiped up from a completely different app. Also, I did say in my post that I went back to his phone to actually solidify my suspicion on a different day. So you are incorrect in asserting that I'm now magically changing my story. I am being consistent. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, if she's freshly 18, isn't this illegal? There's no way they weren't doing anything illegal before she turned into an adult. Also, even if so, the age gap is over 3 decades, your husband is suspect ASF, police immediately. Reply, she's been 18 for 5 months now. I haven't been able to gauge when their affair started, I'm trying my hardest to figure that out. He deletes his texts every couple of weeks it seems like, so I haven't been able to pinpoint when this whole thing started. Additional information from OOP. Reply, thank you everyone for overwhelming support. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your private messages, I'll get to it when I can. Dealing with a lot right now and taking a lot of steps that need to be taken. I'm trying to be smart and strategic with this truly surreal and terrible situation I'm in. I want to be clear that not telling my son about this was never something I was considering. I didn't mean to make it seem that way. I was just saying I'm intensely dreading it, but obviously it needs to be addressed. It's one part of the many steps of my overall plan. I'm currently playing dumb and collecting as much evidence as I can so I can be prepared for anything and everything. I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to make sure I don't put myself in any potential harm's way. I'll post a more thorough update soon when I can. But please know, you've all touched my heart so much and made me feel less alone. I am divorcing my husband because he cheated on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Reddit March 22, 2024, 5 days later. I'm using pseudonyms for confidentiality. I shared a situation a few days ago on another subreddit involving my 41F husband, Paul, 48M, our children, Eric, 18M, and Mary, 15F. I discovered that Paul was having an affair with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. My son has been dating her since they were freshmen in high school. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog-type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk, it was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French-maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty, he had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments and times she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, how is your son holding up? What has developed between him and Amy? Reply, he hasn't spoken to Amy yet since finding out the news, and I'm not sure if he ever will again. Commenter 2, have you confirmed if the thong you found was Amy's? The situation is fucked up. Reply, I confirmed that it wasn't my daughter's. She said it wasn't hers. And I know it wasn't mine. So who else's could it be? Commenter 3, wait. Are you saying that they fucked in the master bedroom? Commenter 4, don't cheaters always use their married bed? Reply, yes, I believe he did. OOP adds in the comments. Reply, both me and my son are going to get tested and checked out as well. There's no telling how many different women he's been sleeping around with. As for Amy, her mom has been in contact with me, and Amy has been threatening to run away with him because they are in love. Update 2. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. it gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story, which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I am refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days, we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now, he seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think he deep down knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with a therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently, they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying I photoshopped it. According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man, and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. Ugh, he's honestly a slimeball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment, maybe eventually though. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Reading all the previous posts, I honestly get the vibe that your husband wasn't a very good one to begin with. Someday, when you're ready, you're going to find someone who thinks you're glorious as you age. Your son is also going to be okay. He's gotten a lesson on exactly how men shouldn't behave. A painful one, but in time, he's going to realize that Amy was groomed and abused. It sounds like she was vulnerable, and your ex took advantage of a child who was in a bad situation. Hopefully once Amy has had some time to process just how messed up this was, she'll tell the police the whole story. I fully believe something was happening before she turned 18. Reply, I believe stuff happened before she was 18 too. Commenter 2, do you think they kept that relationship secret for most of Eric and Amy's relationship? What a disgusting father and pig if that is truth. Reply, I'm not sure when things got actually physical or romantic, but I do think his grooming started as soon as she came into the picture when Eric started dating her freshman year. This, mentor and a friend, that Amy alluded to had to start right away, and the way she's acting now, being so indebted and believing every single thing he says, shows that his effect on her had to be over a long period of time. She only turned 18 like 5 months ago, her behavior and infatuation for him seems so strong that it couldn't possibly be only 5 months of them being together. Commenter 3, if they are consenting adults then there is nothing to report. This is a personal problem that needs to be dealt with by attorneys and the people involved. People are way too jumpy to snap to the police to fix their problems anymore. OP is handling this the correct way. If any legal issues come into play then her attorney will do the right thing. Reply, the only thing we can really hang our hat on is the possibility of Amy having an epiphany of the reality of her situation and she opens up candidly about when it began. But because she's 18 currently and has no interest in saying or doing anything that could potentially put Paul in legal trouble, nothing really can be done. Unless they find out about other girls that I have no idea about yet. Update 3. The support, again, has been overwhelming, and I'm very grateful. Sadly, I've received a lot of negative accusatory harassing private messages from people here who think I'm faking this story. Someone made a comment on some post somewhere, claiming that my story has been debunked, and people believe that person. I've seen an uptick in negative messages accusing me of making this up for money. I'm not asking for money at all. Coming here was completely rooted in emotional desperation, and I didn't expect anyone to get invested in my story this way. But again, I'm not looking for anything out of this. I have no reason to lie, I'm not gaining anything from this. If you don't believe me, that's fine, I don't care, but the only thing I ask is to not cross the line and start sending me private messages that are mean-spirited or accusatory. The only reason I'm continuing to post is because of those of you who've sent me love here, and the support really lifted my spirits. As for the divorce, it's very much underway. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it all because it's ongoing, and I want to make sure everything is going to go smoothly. I got temporary custody of Mary. Paul also has to pay temporary child support. There's a protective order, Paul can't contact us or come near us. Right now, we're just focusing on getting through this legal mess. Again, not getting into specifics because I don't want to mess anything up, but what I'll say is I'm very confident, divorce aside, that there's overwhelming evidence against Paul that will get him in serious trouble and it will impact him for the rest of his life. I'm sure eventually I can share more about that. I know a lot of people are concerned about his predatory ways, and I just wanted to convey this, even though I have to be vague right now. Justice will come. All of your concern about how my kids are doing psychologically means a lot to me. Eric has been to therapy twice over the last 2 weeks. I know some people thought I was dismissive of him and acting like he's doing okay. I very much know that he's hurting internally, and we're doing everything we can to make sure he knows he is supported and loved. My brother has been amazing in spending time with Eric and Mary, and both of them have confided in him about a lot. My brother has a very healthy marriage, and both he and his wife have really stepped up to the plate for all of us. Mary has not seen a therapist yet, but she promises that she will be open to seeing one soon. Her anger has mostly turned into sadness, I noticed, and I hope I can get her to see a therapist soon. Her friends have played a key role in this whole thing, and that's something that Mary has been grappling with as well. I know a lot of people are invested in the well-being of Amy as well. There were a lot of questions about whether Eric and Amy would still see each other at school. It sounded like they go to the same school, but they do not. Eric and Amy went to the same junior high school and knew each other even then, but Amy ended up going to an all-girls Catholic high school while Eric, and Mary too, stayed in the public school system. We all lived in the same town, and over the summer heading into freshman year is when they were getting to know each other and when they started dating. I wish I had a better Amy update, but it's gotten a lot worse since the last update. Paul has actually been seeing Amy, despite her mother trying to force her not to see him. She tells me that Amy says she's 18 and an adult, and she can do what she wants. Her mother is in a precarious spot because if she kicks Amy out of the house for defying her, something that she has threatened to do, which I think is a mistake, she would just run to Paul permanently. The time she spends with Paul has increased over the last week, despite the fact that Paul initially ghosted her when all of this first hit the fan. There were some days where Amy would just be gone for hours on end. There's only so much I could do with the Amy situation, but again, I do believe things will turn around soon with that, given what I know about Paul and what's to come. I can only pray that Amy can get help and guidance when more shit hits the fan. I'm doing everything I can with my own kids and my own mental health, and Amy's mom knows she has my support, and that's all I could really provide. Top comments. Commenter 1, TBH, the only way that Amy will see how messed up Paul is when he eventually sleeps with someone else or he accuses her of seducing him. Even if he ends as a sex offender, if that's enough to convince her that he's a creep and dangerous. Now I'm curious to what Paul's intentions are. He ghosted her and now all of a sudden they're meeting up again. Worst case scenario, he's gonna have her falsely testify, which I don't think will take much convincing Amy. Honestly, you and Amy's mom did what you could. The best thing Amy's mom could do is sit and wait, but don't kick her out. Let her know she'll be there for Amy and she'll still have a roof over her head. And pray she snaps out of it soon instead of years later when she has burned bridges and wasted her life on a man who took advantage and ruined everyone else's lives. Commenter 2, take care of yourself and please don't stress about these internet trolls. They are mean, heartless, soulless humans that have nothing better to do in life than tear people down that are already hurting. Though I'm also a stranger, your story moved me and I'm so sad that you have to go through this. Please take care of yourself too. Sounds like both kids are doing okay now, but you need to be well too. Best. Update 4, my predatory ex-husband fled to Cambodia, my kids and I are still here and going to therapy, April 14, 2025. I'm sorry it's been so long since my last update. I didn't expect to continue to have this overwhelming amount of support from people for this long, thank you so much. I've gotten so many messages on here that I haven't been able to respond to. So I wanted to share an update with how everything is on my end and my kids' end. So quick recap for those who might not remember what my story is. My husband, Paul, cheated on me with our son, Eric's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. When they were caught, he unraveled at the seams. It was clear that he groomed her for years. He had saved dozens of photos of her from Instagram, kept a secret folder of BDSM porn on his computer, and I eventually discovered screenshots and chat logs between them that were beyond disturbing, graphic messages, hours-long phone calls, even them mocking me behind my back. When I confronted him over Zoom, he melted down, sweating, stuttering, yelling the word context over and over again. It was a level of panic I've never seen in my life. I filed for divorce. I took our kids, Eric, and our daughter, Mary, and we left. We stayed at my brother's house. I met with Amy's mother, who confiscated her phone and confirmed everything I'd suspected. Amy told her they were in love. She refused therapy, pushed everyone away, and insisted I was jealous and trying to ruin their relationship. Paul ignored Amy for a while, but eventually they started seeing each other again. She was 18 and legally couldn't be stopped. Meanwhile, I worked with a lawyer. I filed for full custody, and we began building a case. Paul kept trying to contact me directly, but I refused to speak to him. We moved forward with the divorce, even as more disturbing things came to light, his behavior with Mary's friends, the comments, the hovering, the pattern. It was all there, in hindsight. Mary and Eric were both traumatized and they are still in therapy a year later about it. The amount of scorched earth Paul caused is mind-boggling to me. I'm still rattled by it and I don't think I will ever recover, to be honest. Paul and Amy dated for several months after we started the divorce proceedings. I tried my hardest to keep in touch with Amy's mom to see if there was anything we can do for her to realize Paul's predatory behavior and maybe speak out against him to see if he slept with her or did anything to her when she was younger, but she refused to talk about anything. She was in love still. Just a few weeks before the divorce was supposed to finalize, Paul disappeared. He drained what was left of our shared accounts, what I hadn't already locked down, and left. We found out later that he bought a one-way ticket to Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I had no idea. I got a notification from the financial tracking alert my lawyer set up. That was it. We were close to finalizing everything. I had full custody of Mary. He wasn't contesting anything. Then he stopped replying. Didn't show up to court. Never filed anything. Nothing. It was like he just dissolved. Amy, according to her mother, was devastated and she's completely gone mentally right now. She's basically nomadic, sleeping at friends' homes around the area. Refusing to come home. My lawyer pushed for a default judgment, and the court granted it. The divorce is technically finalized now. I have custody. He's in violation of the support order, but none of it matters. He's gone. Cambodia has no extradition treaty. No child support enforcement. Nothing. There's no way to make him come back. No way to make him pay anything. We have no actual clue where he is in Cambodia. One thing that chills me to my core is how notorious Cambodia is when it comes to trafficking minors. Eric's in college. He keeps his distance from everything to do with Paul. He doesn't say much, but he's steady. I know it still hurts. He just doesn't show it. Mary's quiet about it too. She still brings up little things sometimes, things she remembers now in a different light. She asked me the other night if I thought Paul would come back. I didn't answer. I don't think she really wanted me to. I don't know what Paul's doing in Cambodia. I don't know who he's talking to, or what his life looks like now. I've had a few people tell me to report him to the FBI or try to push for an international investigation. I've made the calls. I've filed what I could. But there's only so much they can do when someone hasn't technically committed a crime that's provable in the US. I don't believe he left the country just to avoid alimony. I think he's a predator and I think he's a criminal. That's all for now. I don't have much else to give. I'm still here. My kids are still here. And we're trying. Thanks to everyone for their concern and care. It really warms me, it means so much to me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, thank you for this update. I think about you and your kids frequently. You alluded to him being in legal trouble in your prior posts. Is this why he fled? Reply, just my gut feeling that he fled because I think he's been with minors. Commenter 2, from what I've learned studying criminology, there's often a pattern to behaviors of people like your ex. I really think he will be back and that he will get caught. Maybe him fleeing is a blessing in disguise, because that puts an actual physical barrier between your family and him. As a woman, well, hopefully decent human being, I would like to thank you for doing the best you could to protect everyone. It must have hurt so much. It's now time for you. For your healing. I wish you all the best and all the happiness you can have. Edit, may I just quickly add something regarding Amy, maybe you need to hear it. You have done everything you could. There's a moment in horrible situations like this when we just need to step back and allow people involved make their own decisions. And let ourselves have some breathing space from everyone's feelings. It often sucks, because we want to just grab them and shake them by their shoulders until they click into sanity, but your body needs to recover, too. Your nervous system needs to recover. Eat well and sleep plenty. I really hope that there's no guilt involved on your part, because if her life is awful from this point on, it's your ex's fault. And I hope that you know it. Commenter 3, give as much information as you possibly can to Interpol about this monster. I'm so happy you and your kids are hanging in there. I think about you often. Stories number 2. Whipta for considering suing my boyfriend's friend for destroying my purse. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I recently bought an authentic designer purse. I realize the privilege I have to do so, but I work an extremely demanding job that requires I work very long hours and get compensated well to do so. It's something I've wanted my entire life and I've finally reached a point where I can afford to do it. Not super relevant, but I grew up poor, so in a way it was cathartic to me to buy something frivolous that I really wanted, which is partially why it means so much to me. I've had this purse less than a month and have only worn it out twice, once to a work event and once to a nice dinner we went on with my boyfriend and his friends this last weekend. We were hanging out at my boyfriend's friend's house after the dinner and I hung my purse on the chair behind me. At this point I trusted everyone in the house and wasn't really concerned about it. We've all been hanging out for years now. We moved to another room right next to the one we were in to play a game. When I came back, my purse was right where I left it. When we left for the night, I grabbed it and thought it felt heavier but didn't look inside of it until I went to unload it when we got home. For some reason, someone thought it would be funny to put uncovered red Jell-O shots into my purse with white interior where they proceeded to leak. The entire inside was stained a splotchy pink shade, and to say I was livid is an understatement. We're all between 30 to 60, we have some older folks that are family friends of people in the group that hang out with us sometimes, so everyone is old enough to not do something so stupid. I attempted to clean it to no avail. My boyfriend reached out to the group chat that has about half of his friends in it and asked if anyone knew who had done it. One person admitted they saw someone do it and told us who. It was one of the older members of the group who is known for messing with people's belongings, but never to this degree. For example, when we went swimming last summer he filled the pockets of my shorts up with Chex Mix. It was annoying but didn't really damage anything. Also, no one really finds his antics funny. In my opinion, it's common sense to refrain from putting red goo, that turns liquidy when warm, into a white bag, but he claims that he was just being funny and didn't think they would leak. I asked him for money to either repair the bag or replace it and he claims he does not have that much money. He says the bag looked cheap, so he didn't think it would be a big deal even if the shots had leaked. I know that he has ample assets, multiple sports cars, $1 million home, etc., and can find a way to compensate me for what he had damaged. When I pointed this out, he told me that it was my fault for bringing around an expensive bag and that something could have easily been spilled on it instead. While I would have been upset if that had been the case, obviously, I wouldn't have been anywhere near as upset because this had been done intentionally and is now being blamed on me. I can take responsibility and say I shouldn't have left it out of my sight, but I knew no one in the house would steal it or the contents in it, and I never would have thought someone would fill it with sticky red goo regardless of how expensive or cheap it was. I told him that he needed to find the money or I would be suing him for the damages, and a couple people in the group think I'm going too far. My boyfriend is thankfully as angry as I am, and I don't want this situation to come at the cost of any of his friendships, but I also want compensated for my property that I worked my butt off for. Wibta, if I take legal action, or should I try some other method to recoup my losses? I personally don't think so because this wasn't an accident, but some people seem to think I'm going too nuclear. Update: I had my appointment to have the bag looked at. They would be able to mostly repair it, however it's likely that the liquid seeped through the lining and may have damaged the bag beyond repair. They wouldn't know until they really got into it. Even so, the smell of crusty old jello and liquor would likely linger and deteriorate any resale value the purse may have in the future. For these reasons, I will be going after him for the entire value of the purse. Thank you to the person who mentioned that this could hurt resale value in the future. I didn't even think of this. I asked the person that looked at it and she told me the severity of the staining and odor definitely would. Thankfully it is not a limited edition bag and I can currently buy a new one. Hopeful that this doesn't change anytime soon, as I really loved my bag. I am going to reach out to my attorney in the morning to see if he can help me or refer me to someone who can. I can update again with what they say, but I am pretty sure I have a strong leg to stand on. To answer some common questions: why don't I kick this guy from the friend group? Easiest answer here is that it isn't my friend group. This man is a family friend of one of my boyfriend's friends. He truthfully isn't around much, but it seems like whenever he is he causes problems, so I'm not sure why he is still invited, even occasionally. My boyfriend and I made it clear we would never be in the same place as him ever again, which kind of puts the ball in everyone else's court. 2. Does he not like you or does he torment everyone? He has a weird fixation with me mostly, but he does also torment most of the women in the group. I mentioned this in the comments but it may have gotten buried, but during my first interaction with him I had left my phone out while I had quickly gone to the bathroom. At some point he snatched my phone up, went somewhere else in the house, took a picture of his butthole, and replaced my phone in the same spot. I found the picture a few hours later when I opened my camera roll to show someone my dog, and my boyfriend asked me horrified why I had a hairy butthole in my phone. I was mortified and had no explanation, and it wasn't until this man was hammered that he admitted he did it. We were all disgusted and he stopped being invited for a while because my boyfriend refused to be around him. Last year he started being invited again and immediately started pranking me in harmless ways. He liked to do this with new girlfriends especially, I noticed, and I am one of the newest in the friend group, even though it's been a few years now. One of my boyfriend's friends started dating a new girl and she got a similar treatment, but nothing as severe. He really likes to tamper with our clothes mostly. I don't know what the motive is, but he doesn't usually mess with the guys, just the women. 3. Did he steal anything? No. As I had mentioned, he's wealthy and I don't think he'd really do anything like that. He doesn't seem like the type to get a thrill from theft, rather he wants to annoy women. I only kept my credit card, a small amount of cash, car keys, and a sentimental keychain in the bag. Everything was sticky and coated in goo, but everything was also there. Small edit. A lot of people have taken to accusing my boyfriend of some nasty things, setting this up, not defending me, being spineless, etc. I just wanted to take a second to say none of this is true and is mentioned throughout the post. The first instance of this man being weird, my boyfriend screamed at him about how what he had done to me was awful whether or not he saw it as a joke. We left immediately after and he told his friends that he did not want to be invited when that man was around. It took several years for it to blow over and for his friends to attempt to have us all together again for a birthday party. My boyfriend made it clear that if he ever did anything to harm me again that would be it, and he promised he wouldn't. After all of that situation the offender did calm down towards me a lot until now, which is why I didn't feel that worried about him and was comfortable leaving my purse out of my sight for 30 minutes. My boyfriend not physically assaulting this man isn't him being spineless, it's him being mature and realizing that hurting him was only going to result in him getting charges that would impact his career and life. Now that this has all happened, my boyfriend has defended me and said we will do everything we need to in order to get me a new purse. It was me that was worried about it causing him to lose friends, as I know this group is very important to him. Comments. It was $2,800. My understanding is if it can be cleaned costs would be around $400, if it cannot repairs could be anywhere from $700, it just needing to be replaced. I am taking it in to be looked at tonight and I'll have a more solid answer. If the liquid spilled in the car I'm shocked it didn't because they were borderline liquid by the time I found them. The fact it didn't soak through to the exterior of the bag or on the friend's furniture or in our car is shocking, but speaks to the quality of the interior of the bag I suppose. An attorney says she needs proof he did it for small claims court. Would him responding to my text claiming he put jello shots in a purse suffice? He refused to acknowledge it was my specific purse via text. Just kept saying that he put them in a cheap-looking purse and refused to acknowledge that it was mine or a brand. It's unfortunately not my group to exclude him from, but after this I won't be present when he is around. I've always felt gross about him because of his tricks. When I first started coming around I had left my phone on the table while I went to the bathroom. He had taken my phone and took a picture of his asshole with my phone for me to find later. I was disgusted, my boyfriend was pissed off, but everyone else found it funny. After that we avoided him like the plague until this last summer, where he yet again targeted me but in a much milder way. We've seen him once or twice since and he didn't do anything to me or my stuff, so I was hoping he had scaled back. He wasn't supposed to be there this weekend, he wasn't invited to the dinner, but sure enough he came after and was acting normal, so I thought I was safe. Surprise. My boyfriend doesn't even care for the guy and would never want to see something I care a lot about and spend a ton on get damaged. Somebody says the purse wasn't even that expensive since it wasn't $30,000. $2,800 is a lot when you work your ass off for it. He's married, though I've never met his wife, so she could be made up, but I doubt it. I can only assume she enjoys the money he brings in and ignores the fact that he's a jackass. Or maybe she's the same way. Who knows? Somebody says the boyfriend and the prankster have an affair. Okay, a lot of crazy accusations have been made about my boyfriend here, but this is the craziest. My boyfriend does not have any close relationship with this guy, let alone some secret rendezvous. I am also very confident that my partner isn't gay, but even on the off chance that I somehow entirely misgauged his sexuality in the several years we've been together, I wouldn't imagine he would be having a sexual relationship with an overweight, immature, stinky 50-year-old man. For this theory to shake out, he must also be sleeping with another man in the friend group, as he has bullied another girlfriend in a similar manner. He had taken and hid her phone and made her think she lost it. Once she panicked for a while searching, he gave it back. Other things may have happened too because we aren't usually around when he is, but that's one story I heard from others. This situation is obviously more extreme, but I don't think that it was really intended to be as malicious as it was. Maybe I'm being naive, but knowing this guy, I think he genuinely thought in his simple, drunken mind that they wouldn't leak and it would be funny when I got home and found a bunch of shit in my purse, and it blew up well beyond what he thought it would, and now he has to part with his money to make it right. But overall, my boyfriend has done all I'd ever expect him to. He's freaked out on the guy whenever something happens. He's set the firm boundary that we won't be around if he is ever again unless it's in court, regardless of circumstance, and anyone who's pushed back on me taking him to court has been told it isn't their business. At this point everyone has respectfully stepped away and left us to deal directly with him. Whether or not my boyfriend will ever forgive the people who pushed back is up to him, but relationships are strained from all of this and my relationship with my partner isn't one of them. And I'm very confident he isn't gay. LOL. Update. For those who haven't seen the previous post, I will give a quick summary. My boyfriend's friend, I use this term lightly, my boyfriend never really cared for him, but he was kind of in the friend group, likes to prank women by messing with their belongings. He put red Jell-O shots into my new designer purse, which proceeded to leak and ruin the purse. See my post history for the full rundown. A lot of people asked for an update, so here it is. Update. I got a quote for repair, but it was likely futile as the smell of cheap liquor would likely remain, even if only faintly. Additionally, as a kind commenter pointed out, doing so drastically affects resale value should I ever choose to sell it. For these reasons, I was pursuing him for a replacement purse. I laid all of the information out in writing to him and had my boyfriend hand deliver it to him. To summarize, I broke the cost of the replacement down to the penny and threatened legal action should he not replace what he damaged. The next day one of my boyfriend's other friends showed up with a check made payable to me for the entire amount. I'm sure you all wish it was more exciting than that, but I for one am just glad it's over. The only thing that could be seen as funny is the memo line on the check, which was, "See you next Tuesday, winky face." Funny. I deposited the check and it cleared, so thankfully he didn't try to play any additional games by having it bounce. I think he knew I was serious and didn't want any more costs adding up should I take him to court. So yeah, that's it. One other quick thing about my boyfriend, since most people didn't read the end of my OG post. People accused him of so many nasty things. Setting up the whole thing, not protecting me enough. One person even theorized that my boyfriend was having a homosexual affair with this guy. None of these things is true. My boyfriend really isn't close with this guy. He's been around him occasionally, but they never hang out 1v1 or talk outside of when he's in the big group. He's gotten into arguments with him regarding how he treated me in the past and was firm with his stance on us not being around him anymore after this incident. It seems like people think that if he's not resorting to violence, he's a bad guy, but I personally think the opposite. We both have good careers, and him punching this guy would have just led to an arrest and charges, and we don't want that. My boyfriend is a great guy that stood by me and helped me with all of this and was definitely not involved. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for following. Comments by OOP. This guy is no longer invited to group gatherings. A few may hang out with him 1v1, but a majority of people are outraged by his behavior. He's now banned from group gatherings. My boyfriend at the beginning of this said we would no longer be around him period. If he wrote see you next Tuesday. Or the actual word he wrote the euphemism. I'm sure he thought he was being slick in more than one way. He knew we refused to see him going forward to I think saying, I'll see you, is an insult in and of itself. It was a Chanel. Stories number 3. I found messages on my MIL boss's computer that changed my entire view of her. What do? I listen to 2 hot takes literally every week and this happened to me a couple days ago. I've been at a loss of what to do so I figured I should finally make a Reddit account and post here. I work at my husband's family business that builds custom homes. I met my MIL when she came into the design firm I worked at to pick out some options for a client. She and I hit it off and after she'd come in a few times she set me up with her son. Fast forward 7 years and I coordinate all the builds and consult with clients on design for the 50-plus-year-old family business. My MIL is technically my boss but we operate a lot like equals and she's been taking some steps back. She and I have always gotten along great and she has felt like the mother I never got to have growing up. So last Friday I was packing up to go home and on the phone with my husband before he got a flight for an annual weekend away with friends. I was distracted and accidentally grabbed my MIL's computer instead of mine. I didn't realize it until I was home and wanted to look up some fixtures for a project in our own house. Once I knew I texted her to let her know to which she said no worries, she was unplugging this weekend anyway and to do whatever I needed on it. I was just browsing and unintentionally clicked on a linked email on a store's contact page. We use MacBooks and as a lot of Apple users know, that will usually pop up to send an email using your default mail app. I closed the draft and when I went to close her email app saw an email from a recently hired apprentice titled Our Weekend Getaway Itinerary. I froze. I realized this was her personal email and I couldn't help myself but to click on it. I found both explicit and romantic messages between this 22-year-old male apprentice and my married 47-year-old mother-in-law and boss. I slammed the computer shut and just went to bed, staring at the ceiling for quite a while. My husband was gone all weekend and only got home today. I had been spiraling all weekend on how to handle this. I certainly wasn't going to bring it up to my husband while he was gone. But I went to the office and had to see my MIL yesterday and could barely keep my composure. I found every excuse to lock myself away in my office and be busy. So now my husband is back and I'm wondering what to do. Do I tell him? How do I even do that? Do I go to his mom and confront her? Do I go to his dad and tell him, help? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, screenshot everything. If you're tech savvy enough SS on the laptop, open a private browser to email them to yourself, delete the SS and delete them from the trash. Otherwise, just use your phone to take pics. Tell your husband, he's going to know something is off with you and you'll worry yourself sick if you don't tell him. Is there a chance your MIL and FIL have an open relationship? Your options would be to hire a private detective, or inform the MIL and get to come clean, or inform the FIL so he can decide how to move forward, or do nothing. Reply, there's no chance they have an open relationship. My FIL was cheated on in a serious relationship with someone he thought he would marry and it crushed him. He has always preached loyalty and monogamy in relationships to my husband since he was a teen. Commenter 2, do you need your job? Reply, I really don't, I came to work here because I wanted to and they needed the help. I left my last role on great terms with an open invite back. Commenter 3, really? You said it's been 7 years, but you're sure that you still have an open invite to return? Reply, it's been 7 years since I met my husband. I've worked at the family business for about 2.5 years and still consult on the side with my last job so yes, I'm sure. Commenter 4, are you sure it isn't your husband meeting this person? Our weekend getaway itinerary, the same weekend your husband is going away. Sounds like an awfully big coincidence. Reply, this weekend for my husband is an annual trip he's done with friends for 6 years now. And he FaceTimed me drunk from a bar one night to say he missed me so no, I'm not worried ha. OOP clarifies on her MIL's age. Reply, she was 40 when I met my husband, not when we married. And she was 18 when she had my husband. Teen pregnancy. Update 1. I shouldn't have been surprised by the amount of people who told me to keep it to myself and that I was in the wrong for snooping. Yeah, I shouldn't have opened up the email, but I did so here we are. And here's an update. My husband knew something was wrong after he got home, he can read me like a book. I told him I found out something I shouldn't have and told him everything, he was mortified. But as some said, he's glad I told him because keeping it from him would be worse. He knew more about that apprentice than I did. He was the son of a family friend and she's known him since he was a teenager. Hiring him was a favor to said friend. My husband said he wanted to take him from there, which he did. He went snooping on his own. The computer is company property and he has ownership in it as well, and can log in remotely at any time. He took screenshots of emails going back with the apprentice over a year, before he worked here. Then of ones with someone else that were 2 years old. And then records of a second phone, and hotel reservations. With all that, he took it to his dad. I don't know how that conversation went, but I do know that they went to get him tested. To add insult to his injury, he tested positive. Michael joined us for dinner instead of going home and we talked for quite a while. He was like a heartbroken teenager. He had no idea what was happening, but years ago he had suspicious of her talking to other men but didn't have any proof and they dropped it after a brief fight. But now with undeniable proof of multiple affairs, he said it's over. He also has a pretty airtight prenup that should make it a pretty easy divorce on paper. The family business is on his side and in the case of infidelity, she forfeits all ownership of the business and the house they built together. So I'm sorry to break it to you, coming clean didn't destroy my marriage or my career. I told my husband mostly because we don't keep secrets from each other, it's a foundation of our marriage. But it's almost like reasonable adults put blame only where it's deserved, on the cheater. My FIL is pissed, and simultaneously devastated, and plans to get his ducks in a row before serving her with papers. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, does your MIL know that all of you now know about her infidelity? Has the apprentice been fired? Reply, no she doesn't know, and no he hasn't been fired. We literally just got to the point where FIL knows. We're letting him decide how this all plays out from here. Commenter 2, remotely accessed computer with screenshots to boot, STI panels that return at nanospeed, prenups that cleanly and surgically cuts off the cheater. What intrigues? Reply, there are rapid tests for certain STIs that come back in like 20 minutes. It's basically a COVID test as far as going into a walk-in clinic and the turnaround time, and I signed a prenup that basically cuts me off I cheat as well. It's pretty common for people with large businesses. Commenter 3, why would you have an affair so easily discoverable on work computers if the stakes were this high? If this is real, MIL is either really dumb or just didn't care if she got caught and lost her livelihood. Reply, honestly I think how I found out could be chalked up to just not being tech savvy and not thinking she had anything to worry about because she has gotten away with this for years as we found out. I have her computer login, and she has mine. People are pressed that I had my boss's password, but she's also my MIL. We've done presentations where his computer goes to sleep after we set it up and I need to log in. She sent me to go get a file off her hard drive when it's plugged in at her desk, etc. And I don't know if she even realized that her personal email was logged in on the Mail app. She usually works off Microsoft Outlook in her web browser. There's a good chance she logged into her personal email on the Mail app and didn't think twice about it, or use it, since. Commenter 4, what did he test positive for, STD? How's Fael doing? He sounds like a good man. Reply, thankfully something treatable. He's sad and shocked but this is all really fresh and happened quickly. I had no idea my husband would move so fast on it, but he and his dad are really close so I'm not surprised. My FIL is a great guy and he has us and a large support system that have proven themselves to be great friends time and time again, so with all that in time I'm sure he will be okay. Update 2. Like I said, I listen to THT every week and I heard my story on there this week, so yes, hope he was listening and here is an update. My FIL did end up confronting my MIL shortly after my post. He brought the proof that my husband found, his positive STI results, a copy of their prenup, and the divorce papers. From what he told us when he came over for dinner after, he was calm and just laid it all out on the table, literally. She obviously knew she was caught and just asked how he found out. He said it wasn't important and outlined what the next steps would look like. He was willing to make some concessions on their prenup if she would come clean about everything and step down quietly. I think he was so hurt by it all and he loved her so much that he just wanted this to be done and over, and he did still want to care for her. She fought for a bit but relented, so the divorce should go smoothly. She stepped down willingly from the business and moved out, but he did offer spousal support and their vacation home which she moved into, both things that were not included in the prenup. My FIL has spent a lot of time at our house or going out with my husband golfing or hiking. He's heartbroken and worried that it's all going a little too smooth, that she will suddenly change her attitude. But I personally think she just knows she got caught and messed up past any fixing it. I'm struggling to come to terms with that version of her versus the one I got to know and love. But there's nothing I can do but be there for my FIL and husband. The two are really leaning on each other which is heartwarming for me to see. She reached out to me to apologize for putting me in the position and hopes we can still have a relationship. So at some point she found out that he found out from me. I told her not right now, but I don't know what will happen in the future, but my husband is my #1 priority right now. Thank you Morgan and Michaela for your take and not ripping me to shreds like some commentators did. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, will your FIL tell it to the parents of the guy? 'Cause he may have been groomed. Who knows how long was the affair? Reply, he did not tell them, but their son did. They went to my FIL and are working it out on their own, there's more to it but not that I'll share publicly. Commenter 2, so your husband is just straight no contact with his mom? She's cut off. She gets what she deserves, but wow. From everything to nothing in one shot. At least she has money and a place to live. Reply, he's not totally no contact. But it is limited. Aside from being his dad's soon-to-be ex-wife, she's also his mom. And he wants to separate the two, but is just struggling to do so right now. And he told her that much, which I'm really proud of him for. She knows they have an uphill battle coming up. Commenter 3, that lady does not deserve spousal support, or a vacation home. She's taken so much already emotionally and completely obliterated the foundation of her family. I truly hope your husband and FIL are okay. This has to hurt so much. Reply, you're not wrong on the hurt. The credit I will give my MIL, and that my FIL and husband do as well, she was always a great mom and worked hard to support the business and was a huge part in building the life they have. No matter what, she is his mom and to my FIL, she's the loving mother of his children. And their marriage had really happy moments. I look up to my FIL so much and I think it's admirable that he took into account her whole being and her life, not just her worst moments, and didn't just cut her off and rip everything away, even though nobody would blame him. Don't get me wrong, this isn't me defending her. It's me praising him. Commenter 4, what happened to that guy? Is he still working there? Reply, he left pretty quickly and without any issue. And my husband did give him a few names of other builders who may be willing to hire him as an apprentice and said he would be a reference if he needed it. I could take a lesson in empathy from my husband and his father because I don't know if I would do that. But they both agreed to show him some grace because he's young and they acknowledged that he could have been groomed. They both sat down with him and did what they could to make sure he learned from this instead of having it ruin his career at this point. I think it was partially out of respect for his parents, but either way, they were both bigger people than I wanted to be. Stories number 4. My girlfriend forgot to log out from my phone and I read something that changed our relationship. There was a time when my girlfriend and I were going through a really rough patch. We were finally trying to fix things, but it wasn't easy. There was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of silence. We both wanted to make it work, we were choosing each other, but still, that doubt lingered. One day, we were on a bus and she didn't have her phone, but she wanted to show me a Tumblr post she had saved for me. So she logged into her Tumblr account on my phone and showed it to me. That was it. I didn't think much of it at the time. Later, when I got home, I saw she had forgotten to log out. I was about to do it myself when I noticed a 1 next to the drafts tab. Just one draft. Curiosity got the better of me and I opened it. I had no intentions beyond that, just curiosity. We both write from time to time, cause we are into books and poetry and stuff. Inside the draft, I found a few lines. Something like, oh but how do I love you, when there is none of me left. My soul is shattered and I do not know what to do with the remains. Not the exact words, but close. They stuck with me. They hurt. I knew she had been through some terrible things. And I didn't want to be selfish, but the thought started creeping in. Does she not love me completely? Am I just holding on to something that isn't all there? I logged out of her account. I didn't say anything. But I couldn't shake the feeling. I tried, but it just kept hurting the whole day. The next day was a special occasion for us, one of our days. We usually write each other letters, little ones filled with feelings. I gave her mine. She smiled softly and said she didn't write one this time. Instead, she handed me a book, 6 of Crows. One of the 2 books we had exchanged back when we were just starting to fall for each other. It had emotional weight. She told me to open it once I got home, so I did. There was a tiny piece of paper tucked into the front, asking me to turn to a specific page. Page 147. I flipped to it and found a passage she had underlined. Many boys will bring you flowers. But someday you'll meet a boy who will learn your favorite's flower, your favorite song, your favorite sweet. And even if he is too poor to give you any of them, it won't matter because he will have taken the time to know you as no one else does. Only that boy earns your heart. And just after that, the character in it thinks, I'm not sure I have a heart to give anymore, Papa. But right there, next to that line, my girl, in her beautiful handwriting, had written. But when you do find the one, the shattered remains of it will stitch themselves back together and will only beat to his name. I set the book down and just sat in silence, crying. She never knew I read that draft, and I still haven't told her. But in that moment, I knew. She loved me. Entirely. In her own quiet, aching way. It's been a long time, but ever since then, our relationship has only grown stronger. I love her so much. Edit, to everyone who took the time to comment their well wishes, thank you so much. It means a lot. And to everyone who felt good after reading this, I'm glad an incident from my life added some positivity to your day. Stories number 5. I, 33F, was not invited to my boyfriend's, 31M, family wedding and now I want to skip their summer reunion. My boyfriend, 31M, and I, 33F, have been together for just over 3 years. We live together and are in a committed relationship. Over time, I've made a genuine effort to connect with his family. I've joined them for holidays, birthdays, and other gatherings. I've always tried to be kind, respectful, and supportive. His aunt, 46F, who's considered the last single aunt in the family, announced that she is getting married in June this year. It has been a big deal for everyone and the family is very excited. I assumed I would be attending the wedding with my boyfriend. I've met his aunt several times and we've always gotten along. There has never been any tension or awkwardness. When I asked my boyfriend about the plans, he told me that he had been invited, but was not allowed to bring a +1. I felt disappointed, but I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. I figured maybe the wedding was small or the guest list was limited. Then I found out that his younger brother, 26M, who has only been dating his girlfriend, 20F, for about 6 months, was allowed to bring her to the wedding. That really hurt. I don't blame her at all, but it made me feel like I am not seen as part of the family, even after 3 years. I talked to my boyfriend about how I felt. I explained that it made me feel excluded and undervalued. He listened and was supportive. He told me he understood why I was hurt and that my feelings were valid. At the same time, he feels that I shouldn't let this one event affect how I view his family as a whole. He thinks I should continue attending family gatherings, and that skipping them might make things more awkward or strained later on. That's where I'm struggling. There's a family reunion coming up this summer in September. It is a big camping trip they do every year, and everyone attends. Normally I would go, but right now I don't feel comfortable. I want to sit this one out. I feel like I need time to process and protect my emotional space instead of forcing myself into a situation. I love my boyfriend, and I'm not trying to create a rift or make him choose sides. I just need some space to think about what this all means for me and how I fit into his world moving forward. Has anyone dealt with something similar? How do you find the balance between protecting your feelings and staying connected with your partner's family? Update. Wow, I didn't expect this to get so much attention overnight. Thank you all for the kind comments and support. I truly appreciate it. I also wanted to clear up a few things and share an update. Some of the comments speculating that my boyfriend was being shady actually made me laugh. The wedding invitation was sent out in March through the Knot website. I went through the whole site, including the couple's story and the Q&A section. To RSVP, you have to type in your full name, and it will indicate whether you're invited solo or with a +1. When my boyfriend entered his name, only his name came up, no +1. Out of curiosity, we typed in his younger brother's name, and his did include his girlfriend's name. In the Q&A section, it said the guest list was limited, and only those listed by name were invited. At first, my boyfriend was upset and wanted to reach out to his aunt directly. I told him not to, since I didn't want to add any extra stress to her while she's planning her wedding. I helped my best friend plan hers last year, so I know how overwhelming it can be. Instead, he called his dad to talk about it. He stepped out for the conversation, so I'm not exactly sure what was said. After I posted about it last night, I brought it up again with my boyfriend. He was hesitant at first, but eventually opened up. I had a gut feeling about his younger brother, and it turns out I wasn't wrong. The couple decided not to invite unwed partners, but they made an exception for his younger brother. From what I've seen and heard over the years, he's definitely the family favorite. He was a NICU baby and the family has treated him with extra care. He usually gets what he wants and rarely faces consequences. As we talked more, my boyfriend admitted he does feel some resentment toward his younger brother. He said it's always felt like his brother receives special treatment, and this is just another example. He's come to accept it because it's been that way since his brother was born. There are clearly deeper emotions at play for him, and I want to support him through that. I also found out that a cousin's, 34M, long-term girlfriend, 29F, of 8 years wasn't invited either. That made me feel a little less alone. She's actually more upset about it than I am. I reached out to her, and we're planning a spa and nail day on the wedding day. Honestly, it helps to know I'm not the only one feeling left out. My boyfriend and a cousin are still planning to attend the wedding to support their aunt, which I completely understand. It's an important day for her. It still stings that I wasn't included, but I've accepted that I can't control how others choose to handle their guest lists or family dynamics. I'm choosing to focus on my peace instead. I'm still undecided about attending the family reunion camping trip, but if the cousin's girlfriend goes, I'll be more open to it. P.S. The petty part of me wants to not invite this couple to our future wedding when my boyfriend and I get married, and also not give the younger brother a +1. It made me laugh just thinking about it. I might get over it by then, but I thought it was a funny little thought worth sharing. Stories number 6. AITA for telling my biological sisters I don't want to meet our bio parents. I, 30F, am a Chinese woman who was adopted from mainland China when I was a baby and grew up in the UK. I grew curious of my roots and if I had any family out there, so I took a 23andMe test. I found 4 full sisters through this test. I'm the oldest. My sisters are 29, 28, 24 and 20. The 3 middle sisters are in America and the youngest is in Germany. We have kept in contact via the internet and have even met in person twice before COVID started. I have 2 brothers I grew up with who are my parents' biological sons, and as far as I'm concerned they and my parents are my true family, but I have grown close to my biological sisters as we understand each other a lot. What my parents know of my birth story is that I was found in an alleyway in a box. My sisters were found relatively the same way from what they know, though they were left outside of buildings in public areas, so I'm a bit more bitter than they are about how we were abandoned as I was left out of the way where I could have been missed. We recently got contacted by a new family member found by the test, an 18-year-old full brother who lives in France with our bio parents. Apparently they moved there later in life. My biological sisters are excited by this and eager to meet them. They want the 5 of us to fly out together to meet our brother and family. I've told them I won't stop then, but I have no interest in meeting the couple who clearly kept trying to have a boy and abandoned 5 daughters we know of, reminding them there could be more we don't know about who haven't used 23andMe. They feel I'm being unreasonable in this and I should at least go to meet our brother. I'm fine meeting him one day but not with them there, and he and I have been exchanging emails for now. I know they want the 5 of us to go out as a united front in this, and me not wanting to go is disheartening for them, but I honestly feel bitter in regards to this whole situation. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA they want to go, you do not. That's fine on both sides. They have no business pushing you to go meet bio family. Commenter 2. NTA that is a very personal trauma for you, and it is especially worse for you as the one who is the oldest and was the closest to not having a life at all because of their abandonment. I hope you and your brother form as strong of a bond as you and your sisters have. It isn't his fault your parents did this, and I hope they all come to understand your feelings and stop pushing it. Reply. It was a bit tough to work up the ability to exchange emails with him. After all, he is the goal they were clearly aiming for that resulted in myself and my bio sisters being abandoned. That being said, I reminded myself he's really just a kid and none of this was his fault. Commenter 3. I too am an adopted person who was abandoned at birth. Outside of a bodega in the bad part of town. I also took a DNA test and ended up meeting biological family. And I regret it so very, very much. Meeting my siblings and birth parents sickened me so much that I feel as though I'll never get my mind back to where it used to be. And I had the unfortunate pleasure of being filmed for TV meeting them. It sucked finding out that I have an older brother with the same birthday as me. Only he got to have a birthday party and I got left outside in the cold. Please don't ever think you're an asshole for not wanting to meet your bio parents. You're not. Sometimes it's a lot worse than not knowing. Reply. I'm so sorry, the idea of being filmed for that, it makes me want to throw up. I'm sorry you had to put up with that. I can imagine why that'd suck finding out your older brother had the same birthday as you. I was left in the alley in winter. I'm not sure my exact birthday, we have a rough estimate but nothing more. If you ever want to talk to someone who is similar in this, feel free to hit me up. Commenter 4. Sorry to ask this, but these things just make my blood boil. Did they at least seem remorseful? Did they understand how evil what they did to you was? From what you're saying, I guess not, and I guess you no longer talk to them. Reply. I'm not the one who met their parents. You'd likely get a reply if you replied to them. Easy mistake to make on who you reply to. Commenter 5. Thank you. And I'm so sorry you went through this as a baby. I can only imagine the pain. I hope you are happy and feel loved and valued by your real family. Update. After some pushing from my bio sisters over getting in contact with our bio parents, as well I don't want to fly out to meet them with my sisters, they still want to talk to me. I finally consented to having a Zoom call with our bio parents as that was the most I could handle. I'll be honest, it was like a punch in the gut. I look so much like our bio mother it was a little startling. So I found out some answers to some important questions. Firstly, why were we abandoned? As many of you can guess, it was to do with the one-child policy. They wanted a son, but there was additional internal pressure to this. My paternal grandparents had told them if they kept a daughter they would be cut off and not have a penny of the family money. It's why I was abandoned so differently from my sisters. It was my paternal grandmother who took me out to abandon. My bio parents always assumed that I had died with how she left me, so they took over the abandonment of my sisters, which is why they were left in better places. Was there any other children? Yes, one. A boy who would be 22 right now. Had everything went to plan, they had been going to keep him, but apparently something was wrong about him. I don't know what, and they didn't expand on that, but apparently my paternal grandfather forced them to give him up as he was ashamed. Why did they move to France? After our youngest brother was born, they finally gained financial independence from my paternal grandparents and were able to move. They were the ones that asked their son to take the test, hoping to find their other children. Where does this leave us? They were so happy to talk to me and kept going on about how they now had most of their children back and could have it all. I cut them off there and told them they didn't have us back. I expressed sympathy for what they had been put through by my paternal grandparents, but pointed out they chose money over me and over all of us, and how they could have chosen to simply keep me or any of the others and make their own way in life, but they hadn't. I thanked them for the call but told them I had a family already and had no further interest in speaking with them. That I'd continue to be in contact with my bio brother, but this was all they'd get. They tried to beg me to stay on the call, but I left, and I admit I had a little bit of a sob afterwards. My adoptive brothers ended up taking me out to drink afterwards, and the three of us got hammered while I vented and cried some, but it helped work through things a lot. So thanks everyone. I just figured you all deserved an update. Comments. Commenter 1. I really hope that the conversation with them gave you some kind of closure. Thank you for sharing this update with us. Commenter 2. Yes, at least she got a few questions answered. Seems like it would be better to know than to always wonder. Doesn't exactly make it easier, but perhaps provide some closure. Commenter 3. I really hate the one-child policy. It sucks for so many people, especially girls, because they are usually almost always treated horribly or given up and treated worse. I know some families would rather leave to another country than have to pick and choose a child. If you choose not to be involved with your bio parents, then I feel it's for the best, because at the end of the day they literally did chose money over you, and what would have happened if you were never found. Commenter 4. And also kept choosing to have children they abandoned till they got the right one. They can feel bad all they want. Culture, pressure, I sympathize, but they did this with all the daughters and one brother who wasn't right. Commenter 5. Exactly, all because they want the perfect child. When I first watched the documentary about the one-child rule, my heart broke seeing how the girls they gave up were treated. So many cultures treat girls like they are only good for home care and birthing kids. I grew up in a household where I was supposed to take care of everyone despite being a child myself. I have a daughter now and I refuse to treat her the way I was. Update. Hello everyone, I never expected to return to this throwaway, but here I am. A little refresher, myself and my 4 biological sisters were abandoned due to the one-child policy and found each other later in life, as well as our biological parents and a younger brother. Due to the way I was abandoned, I had no interest in getting to know them, but I agreed to a single Zoom call to get some answers. It has came to my attention my youngest bio sister, who is 22 and lives in Germany, has been in regular contact with our bio parents after the initial meeting, and they offered her quite a bit of comfort after her long-term boyfriend cheated on her and that relationship fell apart. She has now revealed to us that she plans to go to Guangzhou in the near future to meet a man who our bio parents wish her to meet, as he is supposedly the son of their friend, and our bio parents are apparently paying for this entire trip for her. Our sisters are a bit hesitant about this, but no one wants to tell her it's a stupid idea, as they feel she's a grown woman and it's up to her. I tried to express concern, but she would not hear it, sold on the dreamy idea of meeting a handsome man from the country of our birth. I am worried about her and how badly this can go wrong. I also have my doubts about the validity of this situation, as something seems incredibly off about it. So I reached out to her adoptive grandparents to let them know her plans and my concerns about this whole situation. They were horrified by this, as they had no idea, and their immediate concerns was that this was a potentially dangerous situation, and they assured me they would handle this. She has since reached out demanding to know why I got in contact with her grandparents, as it was not my place and she can make these decisions for herself. I told her that she may want to wear rose-tinted glasses when it comes to our biological parents, but I'm not going to let her fly across the world to a likely dangerous situation to meet a man she's never even spoken to before, which she told me if he was a creep she'd at least get a free holiday out of it. We ended up arguing quite a bit over this, with some heated words being exchanged. Our bio sisters have told me I shouldn't have went behind her back like that, and if it was a mistake she needed to learn from it herself, but I worry she may not have had the chance to learn from it if it was a mistake. Meanwhile, my adoptive brothers have expressed relief I'm not that much of an idiot, or else they'd have locked me in my room until that idea left my head. I do think they needed her plans for her own safety if nothing else, but maybe I'm an asshole and could have handled it better. Was I wrong to go behind her back like this? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. There is now a shortage of women in China. Your bio parents will use emotional manipulation to get her to marry him. She's going to want your bio parents' approval if she goes there. You absolutely did the correct thing. Commenter 2. NTA, it's not a free holiday because she'll never be allowed to go back home. Commenter 3. This. My fear is that she would be kidnapped. I doubt the government would put too many resources into finding her. I would not want my sister to step foot in China due to this fear. Commenter 4. Wouldn't be surprised if the bios have or intend to collect a bride price for youngest sister. Nowadays the expectation for a girl's parents are a matrimonial home, a car and bride price to the girl's parents in return for raising her. 22 is prime marriageable age. Said bride price will then be used to fund youngest brother's matrimonial home, car and bride price to his in-laws. If the match succeeds, the man can travel back to Germany with youngest sister and get a job. The Chinese economy is in the doldrums right now. Stories number 7. AIO for demanding to be paid after wearing something inappropriate to babysit. Hi. I am 15 and have been babysitting this family for over a year. They are more on the conservative side, and a lot more religious than my family, but they are generally nice and I love their kids. I did not receive payment from them the last time I babysat, and so I reached out and they are now saying they will not pay me the full price because I was wearing something inappropriate. Just wondering if I am overreacting. For context, I was wearing a sweatshirt over my tank top, third pick, and only took it off after the kids asked me to run around with them. I babysat from 4 to 10:30, and normally charge $15 a $5 increase per kid, so $20 for 2 kids. Comments. Commenter 1. I second that you should tell your parent or a trusted adult. The family needs to pay you the full amount. What you wore was not inappropriate in the least and, even if it was, they still need to pay you what they owe. If they were uncomfortable with your clothing they could have had a conversation with you, sent you home before they went out. IMO, it's just shady behavior plus an excuse not to pay up. I also agree with what others are saying about them sexualizing you. It's not cool. It's not okay. Tell an adult. Commenter 2. What you wore was not inappropriate in the least and, even if it was, they still need to pay you what they owe. Exactly. You can't just not pay someone for the time they worked. If they were uncomfortable with her outfit, they could have said they didn't want her to babysit or they could not ask her back in the future. But they won't because then who could they exploit for their childcare? OP, please talk to a parent about this. You did a pretty good job replying, but never offer for someone to pay half when they're already being unreasonable and unethical. There are times to reduce or refund charges, but this is not one of them. Commenter 3. Did they ever stress any rules about a dress code to you in the past? I'm trying to see where they're coming from, but really struggling. This is insane. Especially since you were looking after 2 girls. Reply, nothing prior about clothing, other than they once made some odd comment, can't remember it exactly, about the necklace I was wearing. It was a Star of David, but I just chalked that up to them being very Catholic, but I didn't think that has anything to do with a dress code. Their girls are 5 and 7, so I thought it'd be okay to wear a tank top. Commenter 4. So they're anti-Semitic as well as creepy. What a combo. Commenter 5. I would honestly use their own religion against them. As a former Catholic, I would try to guilt them into it. They are just trying to manipulate you because you are a young girl and they know they can bully you into backing off. Just quote. Commenter 6. Woe to him who builds his house by injustice, and his upper rooms without judgment, who makes his neighbor labor for him for nothing and does not give him his wages. And just tell them they are not being good Christians and they will be judged for their behavior for stealing wages from a child. And then blast them to other babysitters in the area if you know any. If they do this to you, they will probably do this to lots of other people. Update. Hi. So this is an update to the post I made last night about a babysitting fiasco. First of all, I had no idea it would blow up like that. From the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful for every single person who took time out of their day to write out a reply, it truly was so helpful. If you didn't see that post, I'm May, I'm 15, and the parents I was babysitting for refused to pay me because they found my outfit inappropriate. Around the same time the post started to blow up, my mom sent out an email to my neighbor the mother. She never got a response, which was not very surprising, as they do not get along very well due to opposing political beliefs and religions, etc. My mom is Jewish, she's very Catholic. A lot of people suggested taking my neighbor to small claims court, but where I am at, the price of even filling a claim is half the money I would have made, as well as the fact that we live in a small town and my neighbor is a huge member of her church and very popular, not really sure how to phrase it in a non-high schooler way so it just would not have been worth it. Anyways, I sent another text, got a response, etc., and the rest of the story is included over the texts. Again, thank you so much for all the kind words. Side note, a lot of people have asked where I got my tank top. It's from Brandy Melville, the Skylar stripe lace tank. Comments. Commenter 1. You are amazing. I am so glad you stood up to her. I was so mad for you when I read your post last night. I know I sounded crazy when I commented, but I'm so tired of people your age getting used by grown-ass adults. I'm so glad you ripped her a new one. And congrats on the full payment. Commenter 2. OP, I just want to say that as a mom of a 15-year-old girl who dresses almost exactly like you, I think you did an amazing job here. As a mom who is probably somewhat like your mom, I'm proud of you. You handled this very well. I showed my daughter the pic of what you were wearing and as suspected, she confirmed it's completely normal. And to be clear, she's a good kid. You looked great, completely appropriate for a 15-year-old, and I'm glad you fired those people. They don't seem trustworthy at all. Commenter 3. Good for you for standing up for yourself, and your reply about your mom being awesome was such an amazing burn. Your neighbor's heart is rotten if she thinks she can talk to a teenager that way. The trash took itself out. Reply, I was raised by the best. Thanks for the kind comment, really appreciate it, smiley face. Commenter 4. Hopefully you showed that text chain to your mom, she'd be proud of you. Reply, I'll show it to her when she wakes up, smiley face, I learned from the best, very grateful for her. Stories number 8. I work with the elderly. And I can't bloody stand them. I work in a care home. Challenging behavior, aggression, dementia, schizophrenia, health issues, bed-bound, nursing, the lot. 80+ residents, 4 units. I didn't realize until I worked in care how rude, arrogant, entitled, nasty, racist, homophobic some elderly are. Out of all 80+ only about 8 are actually decent. They are so disgustingly rude it's unbelievable, and this is even the ones who are non-dementia. Dementia crowd are a different breed. Some are lovely, some are the most awful people I've ever met, and before you guys go crazy and scream, but it's their dementia. Yes. Some of it. But there's still a human being under the dementia, and there's no way calling one of my black colleagues a monkey, nah, wog, and specifically attacking them for being black, or our Indian ladies, is new to them. That's been there for decades. One guy looked at one of our new African sponsorships and said, "Get back on your banana boat and fuck off." They treat us younger people literally like we are their maids, barking their every want at us when they can see we are busy. They hurt us, berate us, go out their way to make our job more difficult. One lady, non-dementia, threw her dinner plate with her dinner on at me because I got her husband's sugar wrong in his tea. I was targeted and attacked my entire pregnancy. Zimmer framed to the stomach, punched in the stomach, spat at, had a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher sprayed at me when I was heavily pregnant, told I should be ashamed of my mixed-race baby. One new entry came in and only lasted 4 hours before his previous care home was called to take him back as he chased me saying he wanted to kill me and my baby. I've had shit thrown at me, my hair pulled, dirty nails dug into my skin and scratched. Another guy threatened to rape my younger colleague, which really upset her. They're just vile. I'm sick and tired of saying we need to respect our elders and their sweet little innocent cuties. There's some really nice ones, sure. And I absolutely love doing care with them. But the others are just so nasty. Edit, just an add-on. In my experience, schizophrenic people, medicated, are the sweetest people ever. We have a gentleman who is on injections each month and he's a huge guy. Big, muscly, 6 foot plus. He's in his 60s and he's so lovely and often tries to protect female staff from other male residents. Our schizophrenic ladies have their moments but generally are really kind and really intelligent too. Stories number 9. I'm pretty sure my wife's DM hates me. For the last 4 years, my wife has been playing with a group that very quickly became close friends. Every Wednesday and Saturday night she would go on about epic tales and stories that she and her group would get into. Seeing her eyes light up as she talks about her tiefling artificer and his growth and development made my heart swell. She had been wanting to find a group that matches her energy and encourages creativity and told me she found it with them. I couldn't be more happy for her. With permission from the DM and players, I've sat in some of their sessions on Discord, just listening and watching, and found that everyone's energy was so infectious. They bounced ideas off each other, the DM allowed creativity and out-of-the-box thinking, even rewarded everyone for roleplay and solving issues without bashing people's skulls in. I was laughing with them, even felt my heartstrings tugged at emotional moments. I have to say, the DM was insanely great at storytelling and allowing everyone to be the character they wanted. Well, about 6 months ago, they ended their 4-year-long campaign and said goodbye to their beloved group. The DM mentioned she was going to start a new season set in the same world setting with a new adventure 100 years prior to the events that kicked things off. She DM'd me asking if I would like to be a player and I enthusiastically replied with a hell yeah. I've been playing solo TTRPGs for a while because, like my wife, I've had bad table after bad table, and this seemed like the best opportunity for us both to play together with perhaps one of the best tables we've ever had. Over the last 5 months, DM has been contacting me and other players both in the public Discord and privately about our characters and the world. I asked her for anything and everything she had on the world setting, so that I could acclimate a character that would fit perfectly within it. I was given lore, and any questions I had, she promptly answered. I asked her what kind of limitations she had or requests, and she said, as long as you play a good aligned character, we Gucci. Apparently she had some issues where people played evil, and even neutral characters, and it caused a whole issue. She wants to tell stories of the hero's journey and not worry about every villager being killed for having a bad attitude or looted of precious heirlooms. When I believed I had a good idea of what to expect, I created my character. We shared our character concepts like personalities, a bit of our backstories, classes, that sort of thing. There were so many unique traits that we all had, and it was looking like it would be diverse and amazing. The DM wanted us to have a few secrets in our backstory that we wouldn't share with the other members of the group, making for character surprises in-game. She did this in her last session and they loved it, giving them moments to discover about each other and some crazy roleplay scenes. My secret was that my character was abused and tortured by the gods of this world, a punishment for her bloodline from centuries ago. She was a Tiefling rune blade warrior from an Asian-inspired home where she prayed to her ancestors to guide her. They were very spiritual and believed they could fight their inner curse by being better than their progenitor. Unfortunately, most of her family had gotten wiped out by the gods, leaving her and her siblings alive but scattered. Her goal is to find them and to confront the gods who had done that. The idea was fun, and we hashed out a lot of little details that would make it interesting within the story that was being told. I was all for it and for the drama it would bring. We all have tie-ins to other characters, so I was thrilled to get playing. We had our session 0 in which the characters had already started out knowing each other from attending the same academy. We took on a group mission, and it kick-started our main story. It was a blast and the roleplay was very good, and that's about where the fun ended for me. From that point on, everything became about shitting on my character. We would go into other towns because that is where the story would take us, but every town apparently did not like Tieflings. Every single town. We went to a place with humans and immediately they refused to work with the group because they don't associate with cursed blood. We went to the city of elves, where the bulk of the story took place, and I had to sit out for 95% of it. The elves scoffed at her but they were willing to work with the rest of the group. Not a single NPC would address my character and my character wasn't allowed in any elven sacred places or inside their city, so she had to remain outside in the camp and fend for herself while the rest of the party would be welcomed. I brought up the issues I had. I told her that while I fully understand that there might be people who are untrusting of her, maybe there could be a way that someone might take some consideration to the fact that she's not a bad person. She gave it some thought and said that sounds reasonable. The next session, a player found a potion that could change one's appearance and snuck out to give it to my character. My character then had a moment of shame for being who she was, and the only way she'd be accepted is if she changed who she was entirely. It brought her more strength to prove that she was good, to prove to the world and the gods that she was worthy of being seen as a person and not some monster. There was a scene where she drank the potion and looked human, and then it went to the rest of the group. The group had a moment in which they were involved with the elven children that lasted most of the entire session. It was fun, as they got to engage with them and learn about some special alchemical potions, each of them being granted a bonus and buff for the remainder of their time there. When it finally came to my turn, my scene was of me getting into the elven city and finding one of the children who was part of the group who wanted to learn sword fighting. Since I was a rune blade, I felt I could help them and have a fun one-on-one moment like the group had. Nope. As soon as she said she was going to help, the DM went, "Okay, you do that and have a fun sparring session." And then immediately went back to the group before ending the session. In a 6-hour session, I played for 15 minutes tops. I messaged the DM again, being as polite as I could about the frustrations. My wife and her friends are having so much fun, and it seems like when the DM is focusing on them, everyone is laughing and having a grand time. When we spoke, she told me that the elves are untrusting of anyone who isn't elven, even more so with cursed blood. I told her that there was an orc in the party who had a violent history and the elves seemed perfectly fine with them, but somehow my character who had been atoning for their curse for several generations prior is seen as more untrustworthy. She explained that's just the way things are, but that's what my character was fighting for. I told her it wasn't fun to not be included in the group activities, and that I was feeling left out because of this. I asked if I could change the whole cursed bloodline plot and opt for something else, or just re-roll, and she said not to worry about it because she had a whole story built in for it and it would all make sense when we get there. It only got worse from there. Several more sessions in, the characters had been guided by the elves to a ruined city where we were supposed to find out what happened. I picked up a relic and it burned me, which I had to take 11 radiant damage and had a permanent -1 to my strength score until I could get it cleared through some unknown means. My wife's character picked up the relic with a cloth and was blessed with light and had gotten a permanent +1 to her intelligence stat. It was a relic of her character's goddess who started off a major quest line. The downside? She was one of the pantheon who deemed it necessary that my family's bloodline get wiped out. I didn't know what the hell to do. Why would my character be willing to help this goddess who killed her family and kept her and 2 siblings alive so they would live out the rest of their days in suffering and mourning? Why pit my character against the whole group? I asked my wife if this has happened before in their games and she said it didn't, but maybe the DM was hoping for more drama. I told her I wasn't having fun and that I might just leave, but she wanted to play with me so badly that this was the first table we could sit at together and have fun. I'm not of the mindset of keeping to a bad table just because, but it is my wife and their previous campaign looked so much fun, I had to hope that by keeping open communication we could have a good experience. Things got mildly better with my character having some story beats. She found her older brother and saved him from an execution, and I had a little more roleplay from the other characters, but there were several moments where things felt like I was being picked on specifically. For instance, we had a scene where we were running from a giant, and the DM asked me specifically, "Tanya, what shoes are you wearing?" "Oh, Geta. Yeah, you have disadvantage on your rolls as the wooden platforms of your Geta are getting stuck in the crevices while running." And things like that. She wouldn't ask the others what they wore, or how they did things to give them disadvantages, just me. I wondered if it was because I was the only guy in the group as this is an all-girls table, but I just can't help but feel as if I'm constantly being picked on while everyone else is not having to make extra challenge rolls or have times where they aren't even a part of the plot for several sessions. I've spoken with her several times and even brought up the options to reroll or just politely bow out, but she's told me she has some grand plan for my character that I'll love and it ties into the overall story and the other characters, so leaving or rerolling would ruin all that. I'm at an impasse here because my wife and her friends are having a great time and if I leave, it will somehow ruin this great plot and their progress, but I dread sitting at the table twice a week for 6 hours a day and get to only chime in when I get any acknowledgement from the NPCs who are even willing to talk to me. Sorry this was such a long post, this has been sitting with me for the past 4 months since we started. TLDR, I joined my wife's group after watching her 4-year-long amazing campaign and her DM bashes my character every single session despite her saying that this character is essential to her overall story and everyone's backstory. Update, I'll try to make this much shorter than my last ramble lol. So a few things that I want to clear up about this situation that I had many people asking me. We were part of 4 tables previously. The first one was a group of college mates we had together that we thoroughly enjoyed, but it ended about 3 months in as the DM was going through a divorce and never picked it up again. After that, we had bad luck finding good tables. The first one, the DM was a very raw player and skipped all roleplay. Nothing wrong with that, but we found out that it wasn't necessarily what we were looking for. The other tables had some problem players whom the DM didn't do anything about, so we left as it would kill the jive of all the other players around. My wife found this group on DNDB, it was advertised as a novice DM looking for players and not as an all-girls table. It just so happened that all the ones who contacted her were women. She had been telling me about her sessions pretty much from day one, as she was super excited to have found a table that worked for her. I stopped searching and did mostly solo as my new hobby, but I loved hearing about her adventures with other people. She told her group that she'd tell me about these adventures and how excited I was. The DM then extended an invitation to me to watch them via my wife and I could sit in their Discord. I personally asked her permission and the group's permission if I could. I was fully intended to give them space if even one said no. They all agreed and I sat in for the last 3 months of their session. We had all gotten along pretty well. At the end of their campaign, DM told me that they were going to start a new one up a few months after that ended, and asked if I wanted to make a character. I was excited to join since they all seemed really chill, and asked if that was okay with the group. Everyone agreed and were very welcoming. I came to the DM with a different storyline than what we decided on. She liked my idea but wanted to add a little flavor with the scenario between the gods of that world, saying that it fit a vision she had for the story. She didn't tell me what that vision was, but from what I saw she was a great storyteller and I'm very flexible and can play into whatever she drums up for me. I did not know that this vision would then have me out of the game for almost all the social RP stuff. Sure, she came in handy for the mechanics and during fights, but any kind of RP with NPCs or main story plot was non-existent. 7.it wasn't always bad, just during big roleplay moments and some strange rolls that I had to make, but there were moments I had fun. It just wasn't the majority of it. I stuck through because my wife enjoyed me playing with her, and the group always seemed outwardly friendly. I was really trying to give it a shot. Now for the update. I talked it over with my wife and she understood how I felt. She admitted she was in a hard place because she loved this group so much and it was the first time she felt like she could express herself, but also play in a game with me that was reminiscent of our first group. She agreed that we would have a one-on-one video chat with the DM privately and discuss any possible ways to make this fun for us all. I even said that if she was going a certain way, to give me some info and I can play up to it. What I basically got was, "I'm sorry you feel that way and can't handle some confrontation within game." My wife explained that confrontation is one thing, but I wasn't given a fair shot to prove myself. She, DM, was not happy and said if I didn't want to play in her game, I can hang out with the boys and do my own thing. Right then and there I got my answer and politely said she's right. I thanked her for her time and said that I'd be leaving. I told her she had full access to my character and whatever plan she wanted for her, and she thanked me before we ended the call. Shortly after that she kicked my wife and I out of the Discord and blocked us. I feel so bad for her, wife, because she was honestly hurt, but she said she stands by my decision. This happened Wednesday after our game, and I know she's hurt. My heart breaks because I know she's hurt, but I told her she could take that same character and we could play a solo D&D session together. TLDR, DM wasn't happy that I discussed my issues and she told me to go play with the boys. She then kicked me and my wife from her game and Discord and blocked us. We're now rolling up a solo D&D game to have fun our way. Edit also, thank you for all the support. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get back to a lot of you who reached out personally. We had a lot happen on top of all of this and needed to unplug for a bit to unwind. I am sincerely grateful for the encouraging messages I've received. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. With the context given, it seems that even if not said directly that DM had a huge grudge against men, if you really told her politely that she could use your character and thanked her even, she shouldn't have your wife punished. It's sad but your wife would be better off if they can't respect people equally. Maybe in some Discord you can find another group overseas. Much luck finding a new group if you're up for it. Reply. It breaks my heart because she thought they were good friends for 4 years. They chat outside of D&D about books and played games. Only one of the girls talks to her. I won't say her name in case anyone sees this and goes after her, but it's been hard. These tables really make solid friendships and I feel awful for ruining that for her. Commenter 2. I'm sorry your wife lost access to a thing that mattered to her, but honestly, I'm proud of you guys. That doesn't mean a lot from an internet stranger, but the fact that you stuck by each other despite the risk to something important is impressive and inspiring. Reply. She didn't have to stick up for me. I know she was between a rock and a hard place and I was fully intended on doing it so she wouldn't get any heat. I think she felt bad for not sticking up for me and knew this could be an outcome, but she did it anyway. I'll be spending the next few months making it up to her. Has anyone from the group reached out? One player has reached out to the wife to talk. They keep it very hush-hush, but I think it's what's kept her from being completely devastated. Reply. I am not privy to what they talk about mostly, I don't ask, but I at least hope that if there are any misunderstandings about what happened that it gets cleared up. The fact one friend reached out might mean that others are on to what's been going on. New update. Apparently the players found the thread and confronted the DM about this. They started DMing me and my wife for our side, and confronted the DM. It looks like the DM is taking a break now from all of the drama we caused. New update. It's been a long and tiring week, but finally we have resolution to all of this mess. First of all, though all of this was unfortunate, I do not blame anyone for wanting or needing a women's only space. I have made it abundantly clear that I would not have joined if even one of them spoke up about being uncomfortable with me being there. I respect it, and if that were the main case like I truly believe it was, I would have been perfectly fine declining if the DM had messaged me and told me she did not want me to join. This was a lot of the players' first group with D&D and so they admitted that they didn't know that I was being treated unfairly, but that they thought I was just unlucky with the mechanics. They also said that they were so used to their group dynamic, that it was easy to get tunnel visioned when it came to including me in the story, and that they hadn't thought anything about it. To be fair, I don't blame this on them completely. I've never played with one group for 4 years straight, but I can assume you're so used to your dynamic but when it switches up and someone else joins, it could be easy to tune them out, especially when I was having to sit out because the story revolved around them. At first some of them thought that I didn't give the DM a fair chance to give me a story. The woman who played the orc said that the DM also changed her background so that her character was raised by occultists rather than the monastery idea she had at first. She said she enjoyed the new direction and it opened up a lot more angst story for her later. We had a bit of a debate about this but ultimately they agreed that if I myself wasn't having fun with it, that I should have been able to change the story or be allowed to leave. I also asked the group about the reasoning for letting me join. I read a lot of comments here suggesting that my wife may have asked the DM, or that the DM felt pressured and I wanted to better understand if she felt like she had to take me in despite how she felt. I was told that when my wife told the group that she told me about their adventures and the compliments I gave, everyone, including the DM, was excited to hear that an outsider was invested in their campaign. DM asked if I wanted to sit in and watch, and then when the new campaign started, asked my wife and the group if I would be interested in joining. I was told that in their private chats, she'd make occasional out-of-pocket comments like, "Let's show him how it's done," and I thought guys were supposed to be good at D&D, when I'd struggle in combat due to some of the extra difficulties placed against me. In the end, DM got mad after being confronted, disbanded the channel, and everyone got blocked, so now they're asking me if I'd run something for them. I personally am going to take a nice, long-needed break from this whole thing, but I won't be opposed to possibly doing something they can enjoy in the future. Hopefully I can exceed their expectations. Stories number 10. AITA for making everyone leave the house for a while, including my husband and stepkids, because they were fighting over me while I was newly postpartum. I, 29F, gave birth to my first biological child 3 weeks ago, and I had a complicated birth. I was already stepmom to my husband's, 30M, 2 children, 11 and 9, from his previous relationship. He shares custody of them with his ex-GF. We waited a week for me to recover a little before bringing our extended families over. It was a nightmare, so to begin with. My relationship with my stepkids was good until I got pregnant. Once I was expecting, they pulled away and expressed a lot of unhappiness about me being pregnant. They didn't a half-sibling, and how half-siblings aren't real or the same as real siblings like they are to each other. It came out of nowhere. Their initial reaction to my pregnancy was actually okay. They asked questions, and when we asked how they felt about it, they said they were okay. That it was big. But within a month the negativity had set in. I tried to include them in stuff like picking baby things, helping with the nursery design, showing them scans, and trying to include them in the baby shower, but they wanted no part in that. We also made sure there was time with each of us and them where there was no baby talk, and that they got time with dad and time with me. When I'd take them someplace, they'd tell me they wished their dad was there instead. That's not something that ever happened before. Our baby was born when my stepkids were at their mom's, and they didn't get to meet their half-sibling until our custody week. They ran right past when they came to the house, refused to officially meet their half-sibling, and didn't want to interact with the baby. They also made a point of saying baby isn't their real sibling, the baby's only half. 3 days after they met the baby, our families did, and that's when stuff kicked off and I had a small breakdown in frustration. Some of my husband's family were unhappy that we were letting the kids say half-sibling and expressed this. My husband told them it wasn't that easy and to focus on meeting the baby. Some of my family started saying that it wasn't the end of the world, and then the two started fighting, and my husband was trying to encourage the kids to spend some time with the baby and also fighting with his family, and the kids were mad anyone was saying the baby wasn't their half-sibling. It was all too much. I was sore and tired and emotional, and I got so frustrated I loudly told everyone to leave me alone for a while. I said I know people wanted to see baby, see us, support and spend time, but the fighting was too much for me and I just needed time to unwind with the baby. I told my husband to leave with the kids for a couple of hours too, because if he wanted to talk to them then I'd feel better if they didn't fight in front of me. My husband understood, but our families are upset that I made everyone leave. My husband did technically on my request. My husband's family said the kids needed to hear the fight too, because they needed to know it's not okay to not treat baby as a sibling, and to see how upset it made me too. Not only that they're rejecting the baby now, but also me after we'd been good before. And they said I was unfair to everyone and making people leave solves nothing. Stories number 11. AITA for playing a voice recording to prove to my friend her daughter isn't nonverbal. So I, 30F, have a friend, 34F, that has a nonverbal daughter, 3F, let's call her Allie. I watch her 4 days out of the week in my in-home daycare. I require contracts for every child, and she never filled out the special needs section. And at no point when she asked me to take Allie did she mention any type of speech delay or non-speaking issue. Although Allie didn't speak much at first, I figured she was shy. She communicated her needs to me very well and said small things to me frequently. Last month I was in the bathroom. I keep the door barely cracked with a wedge so I can listen for any dangers and they can't walk in on me or see me. She walked by and said, "Ew, you stinky." I laughed and told her mom at pickup what she said, and I was met with, "She isn't verbal, why would you mock her?" I reassured her that Allie has spoken to me quite a few times and I thought that it was a huge milestone from when she first arrived and was barely saying anything. She told me she didn't believe me and that it was messed up that I would make up something like that to upset her. I told her that I wasn't trying to upset her, but I wasn't lying either. I didn't press the issue further. Here's where I might be the AH. I decided to record Allie, a voice recording, not her face, telling me her name and what her favorite animal is. I had full intention of showing mom the recording, but I was scared at first because of her blow up at me and I didn't know how she would react. After a few short pickups and drop-offs she told me it was water under the bridge and that she didn't want to talk about it anymore. She even insisted that I went to the birthday party. After that I was just happy Ali could continue and I ended up forgetting I had the recording at all. Fast forward to Friday, about a month later, she had a birthday party for her other child. At the party I was socializing with other family members. Honestly, I'm a total dumbass for forgetting that her family fully thought that she was nonverbal. I mentioned the funny things Ali has said to me while we were reading an animal book. Turns out the person I was talking to was her sister and she started yelling at me saying, "She is nonverbal, why are you lying?" Both her and her sister start berating me saying that it's fucked up that I'm making this up about Ali being verbal. At this point I'm tired of being called a liar. I have 2 disabled children whom my son was nonverbal for many years. I wouldn't lie about something like this. So while everybody was staring at me I was scared and felt backed into a corner. So I, remembering I had the recording, decided to prove my case and play the voice recording. Everybody was shocked and my friend told me to leave. I told her I didn't want to cause issues but I'm not gonna be berated and called a liar. She said that I crossed the line recording her daughter and that I'm an A***hole for embarrassing her at the party. Now I feel horrible and wondering if I should have just let it go. Edit for clarification and extra context. Whenever she would pick up and drop off she wouldn't ask me much other than, how was her nap, how much did she eat, and I would hand her the daily report. Then she would leave and not stay for small talk even when I would try to initiate. I know people have busy lives so I'm not gonna try to make them stay and talk to me about their life story. I also didn't do the recording to embarrass her in any way. I didn't mean any vindication by it. I can admit I should have shown her immediately after I recorded it but I'm also human and I was afraid of a second blow up. Then after her saying it was water under the bridge I was just happy that she wasn't gonna take Ali away so I put it in the back of my mind and forgot about it. I feel bad about how I went about my defense, hence the post. I know it was unprofessional and unethical. I apologize profusely to everybody at the party and the family as well. I will be putting cameras in my home that everybody will have access to as well as updating all the contracts to let parents know what is going to happen going forward. Peace of mind for everybody sounds good to me. Also, I will be making a call to CPS about the situation and see what they have to say. Thank you everybody for your kind words. Stories number 12. My next door neighbor's cat wants to live with me and I'm not sure what to do. TLDR, my neighbor's cat is stressed and wants to live with me. My neighbor won't talk to me about it and I don't know what to do. Sorry this is so long. I live alone and work from home so I'm at home a lot. My neighbors are out at work college during the day. They consist of 4 adults, several cats and 3 dogs. My house is a bit bigger than theirs. I think this is important information as I suspect this is the reason Cat prefers it here. In the last few years Cat has been a regular visitor to my garden. There are several cats next door and they all see my garden as theirs. They're all comfortable with me and I often go outside and pet them and give them treats. Next door know about this and I look after the cats for them when they're away. Their cats would occasionally come into my house in the summer when doors and windows are open and in the winter I've taken their cats in if one of them got accidentally shut out. I had my own cat until a year ago who didn't mind the male cats but hated the females, so the females rarely came in the house and the males were never here for very long. My cat died last year and as soon as Cat realized she could come in without fear of being chased she's been doing everything she can to set up home here. I told my neighbor as soon as she started coming in regularly and they said they were fine with it. Cat would go home for dinner and at night and come back in the day. I spoke to my neighbor numerous times about her being here and they kept saying it was fine. Gradually Cat was spending more and more time here and getting very upset at being sent home, but when I got 2 kittens in August I thought that would put Cat off being here. It didn't. I had to tape the cat flap up to stop her getting in and the kittens getting out, but she'd come in through any open door or window and go and hide so I didn't always know she was here. Eventually my kittens ripped the tape off the cat flap and Cat broke it attacking it to get in, so I replaced it with an expensive flap with selective entry exit so that Cat could get out if she snuck in but the kittens couldn't. Cat was here more and more and next door started to get upset about it. I tried to talk to them but any suggestion of having a conversation was ignored. All communication has been by text. They asked me not to let Cat in and I explained that after so long she was used to being here and would break the cat flap trying to get in if I locked it, and I couldn't risk the cat flap being broken and my kittens getting out and other cats getting in. They've got an unneutered male next door who sprays. I always tried to put Cat out at meal times and at night, but she'd come back in again as soon as she could and get very stressed and try and hide. I've had to resort to scaring her out of her hiding spots with the vacuum cleaner to put her out at night as she picks places I can't reach, and I have to block the cat flap up and shut my cats in a different room at night to stop Cat breaking in. She sits outside crying when she can't get in. She sits on the bins under my bedroom window at night crying. One night it was torrential rain and she was throwing herself at the door trying to get in. I felt horrible. My neighbor has seen for herself what Cat is like when she knows I'm trying to catch her to put her out. She came to the door when Cat ran in when I was receiving a delivery and watched me chase her around the house before she got on top of a cupboard I couldn't reach. I've sent them photos of the places I've found her hiding and I always respond when they ask me to send Cat home. I've been totally upfront with them and never hidden the fact Cat is here. I've sent them texts explaining how stressed Cat is and how difficult it is to keep her out. I've tried to talk to them face to face but they just keep ignoring me or replying with "please stop letting Cat in." It's not that easy, and I don't know what to do. They keep Cat indoors for days at a time and the minute she's let out she immediately comes to me. I was away for 2 weeks recently and Cat was constantly trying to get into my house. I'd tape the cat flap up and put my cats in a cattery. I've got cameras covering the back door. She was so happy when I came home. She must be so confused when she can't get in and it breaks my heart having to scare her to put her out. There's clearly a reason she doesn't want to be at home and I wish I could have a sensible conversation with next door about it. Cat came in wearing a tracker this morning. The collar was too tight, it's not quick release and it looks uncomfortable. I don't know how they think a tracker will change anything. They know Cat is here. I hate the fact Cat is stressed. I hate that I can't do anything about it and I don't know whether to try and talk to my neighbor again or just leave it. My neighbor hasn't replied to any messages I've sent recently about other neighborly things either, which is upsetting as before this I thought we got on okay. I understand why they're upset. I would be too if my cat left home. I'd be trying to work out why the cat wanted to be elsewhere though, and if I couldn't make the changes needed to keep the cat happy I hope I'd be able to do what was best for the cat. So cat people, what do I do? This has been going on for a year so I'm sure there's plenty I've left out. Have any of you been in my position or in my neighbor's position? What's the best way of approaching this? I just want what's best for Cat. I have no interest in stealing anyone else's cat, but if she's happy here she's welcome to stay. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It sounds like the cat is unhappy at home, and your neighbor doesn't want to talk about it. You could try one last time to have a calm conversation, explaining that the cat is very stressed and keeps breaking in. Maybe try written a letter or email. If they still refuse to listen, you may need to set firm boundaries, letting them know you can't keep forcing the cat out if she keeps coming back. If the cat is being neglected or mistreated, you could also contact a local animal welfare group for advice. I hope this can help you a bit. Best of luck. I would also keep a record of the cat's movement just in case you need in the future. Reply. The cat isn't being mistreated or neglected. I don't know if she's up to date with vaccinations or flea worm treatments and I've had to loosen too tight collars a couple of times, but I don't doubt they care about her. They've got so many animals and I don't think they realize how stressed the cat is, or maybe they don't want to know. I'll keep letting Cat do what she wants and see if they say anything. When Cat is left to her own devices she's asleep here most of the time and going out for a bit every so often. I don't think they have any idea how stressful it is constantly trying to chase her out or the changes I've had to make to accommodate her. Thanks for the reply. Update. My post didn't get many replies but thank you to those that offered advice. I don't know whether one of my neighbors saw my previous post but I got a long text from one of them yesterday asking to come to an amicable solution about Cat. I was so relieved. I thanked him for reaching out and sent a long text back explaining how persistent Cat is and how difficult it is keeping her out and how I've tried so many times to talk to them but been ignored. His response was not what I expected. He said there was nothing to be said, it's entirely on me to stop her. He won't entertain the idea that Cat might not like the latest dog whilst also telling me she doesn't get on with one of their other cats very well now, which is apparently my fault. Since he asked how persistent she is to get in, I went back through some data and worked out she tried to get into my house no less than 61 times over an 11-day period when I was away recently. I told him if this is how persistent she is when I'm not here and the cat flap is blocked up with cardboard so she can't see through, imagine how bad it is when I'm home and she can see me. Then add in the battering the cat flap takes when she's trying to get in and my cats are attacking it back, and maybe he'll begin to understand why this is so difficult. He didn't reply and blocked me, so I guess there won't be an amicable resolution. TLDR, my neighbor contacted me asking for an amicable solution and proof of how persistent Cat is. When I told him he blocked me. Update. Brief recap, my neighbor's cat has moved in with me and they're being arsy about it. This is also in the UK. Following Mr. Nextdoor blocking me, I stopped trying to chase Cat out and let her come and go as she pleased. It took a couple of weeks but she calmed down, became more affectionate and overall seemed a much happier cat. She still hides when she knows I'm going to bed, as previously I'd do whatever I could to make sure she wasn't in my house overnight, but I let her do what she wants now. Things were quiet for a few weeks and I then got a message from Mrs. Nextdoor asking about Cat as she hadn't seen her. I confirmed she was in my garden and that she comes and goes as she pleases, and I was upset at the tension it was causing. There was some polite back and forth with Mrs. saying there was no tension and that was it. I got another text from Mrs. Nextdoor a week later asking if Cat was here. I replied, and that was that until last week. Mrs. Nextdoor texts me again asking me to stop letting Cat into my house. I'm really frustrated by now and tell her I'm not repeating myself again. That I've even spoken to my vet to see if there's anything I can do, and Cat is happy doing her thing, and surely that's what's important. To try and keep a long story a bit shorter, she ended up asking if I wanted to take ownership of Cat. I said I didn't want to, but if that's what they want and Cat is happy here, then yes, I'll take ownership of her. Mrs. Nextdoor asked me to return Cat's collar, which had an AirTag and dongle for their cat flap on it, and said she'd let her vet know and get the microchip details transferred. So I put the collar back through their letterbox as requested and booked Cat in with my vet for vaccinations and flea worm treatment. I took Cat to my vet, explained the situation, and they called the previous vet for her medical records. Despite Nextdoor agreeing to give me ownership, they've forbidden their vet from releasing Cat's records and have told the microchip company they don't consent to the details being transferred to me. I've texted Mrs. asking what's going on and not had a reply. I have all the messages from her confirming the transfer of ownership to me, her asking for the collar back and saying she'll let her vet and the microchip company know. Cat can't get in through their cat flap now without the dongle, and she's wearing a collar I've provided along with one of my AirTags. She's been registered at my vet, had her first vaccination, flea and worm treatment, and I've set up medical insurance. I also paid the £12 transfer fee to get the chip changed, and then this happens. My vet says based on the messages I have from Nextdoor that as far as they're concerned Cat is mine and I have authorization to get treatment for her, but I'm worried about the situation with the microchip. If Nextdoor refused to cooperate and continue to ignore me, what do I do? I really hoped this was going to be a final happy update, but I can't relax until this is resolved. I feel awkward enough about it all without having this uncertainty hanging over me. Does anyone here work for a microchip company in the UK and can advise me on what to do? Final update, I have a new cat. I won't go into all the details, but finally after a bit of back and forth the neighbors asked me if I wanted to take ownership of the cat. I don't know whether she thought she was calling my bluff and I'd say no, but I said if that's what she wanted and it was in the best interests of the cat, then of course I would. Things remained civil for a bit after that, but they kept declining my request to transfer the microchip details. I messaged Mrs. Nextdoor a couple of times, and despite her saying she didn't want to fall out over this, she turned nasty. She did eventually agree to transfer the chip before blocking me, so I now officially have a new cat and Nextdoor neighbors who hate me. I don't feel good about falling out with my neighbors, and I'm sure they're telling anyone who'll listen how I stole their cat. The cat is happy and settled now though, and that's all that matters. TLDR, I've got a new cat. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Congrats on your new cat. What's her name? I read your previous posts, I hope she's getting along with your other kitties. Reply, she's Pixie. I can't remember if I said in my previous posts, but she's the grandma of my other 2 cats. My boy annoys her at times, but they generally get on fine, and I see them washing each other and giving each other nose bops, smiling face with smiling eyes. Commenter 2. Congrats on the new cat, sounds like she chose you, really. It's unfortunate that things got tense with your neighbors, but it seems like you handled it with patience and a level head. At the end of the day, you gave the cat what she clearly wanted, a home where she feels comfortable and safe. Sometimes animals just pick their people, and it's hard for others to accept. Hopefully things cool off with the neighbors eventually, but either way, your new feline roommate lucked out. What's her name? And how's she settling in? Reply, she's much calmer and more affectionate now. She'll still occasionally hide from me when I go to bed, as that's when I used to put her out, but she's not stressed anymore. She's playing a lot more now too. I'm so happy for her. The last few months have been hard on her. Commenter 3. Congratulations on your new cat. Kudos to you for remaining persistent about the cat even though you mentioned in your last update that the neighbor blocked you. Reply, Mr. Nextdoor blocked me on Messenger a couple of months ago, but I was still on friendly terms with Mrs. We were still mostly friendly until this week when I had to ask about the microchip again, and suddenly she turned nasty. Once the chip had been transferred, she unfriended me on Facebook and blocked me too. Stories number 13. AITA for not inviting one girl to my daughter's birthday party. I, 35F, have an 8-year-old daughter who's turning 9 next month. She goes to a small school and there are only 6 other girls in her year. For her birthday, she's asked for a small sleepover party with just the girls from her class, which I'm happy to host at mine. Here's the issue, one of the girls in her year has been relentlessly bullying her for the past 6 months. She's flushed one of my daughter's toys down the toilet, regularly yells at her during break time, kicked her in the head, yes, really, and most recently threatened to kill her pets. My daughter has come home in tears multiple times, and I've spoken to the school, but not much has changed. Given all this, I told my daughter she absolutely doesn't have to invite this girl to her birthday. I don't want to teach her that politeness and keeping the peace should come at the cost of her own mental health and safety. I was bullied at school and couldn't escape it for the same reasons. If this were an adult friendship, I'd be telling her to cut the toxicity out of her life, and I don't think a birthday party should be an exception. Here's where I might be the asshole. My ex-husband, her dad, thinks we should invite the girl because it's the kind thing to do, and that we should be teaching her to include everyone. He says it's mean to invite all the other girls but exclude just one, and that we're teaching our daughter to be cold and unkind. I get that on the surface, excluding one kid might seem harsh, but does that still apply when the kid has made your child's life miserable? I don't want to be petty, but I also don't think my daughter should have to play host to someone who actively bullies her, just to avoid social awkwardness. So Reddit, AITA for not wanting to invite one girl to my daughter's party. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Have you asked your daughter what she'd like to do? Reply. Yes, and she said that her dad said she couldn't have a party if she didn't invite her, so she feels she has to. I've reassured her that isn't the case and that no invites have gone out yet. She then started crying saying she didn't want her to come. My heart breaks for her. Commenter 2. So, when she grows up and has a boyfriend that smacks her, should she be kind and invite him to dinner? Avoid mean people abusers. Reply. That's exactly my fear. I was brought up in a world where I was taught to not make a fuss, don't wash laundry in public, be polite to strangers. I want my daughter to grow up knowing that there are boundaries and her mental health isn't optional. Thank you. Commenter 3. Somebody has to stand up for your daughter, and that someone needs to be you, her mother. The fact that you would even entertain inviting a mean, nasty, dangerous little girl who has relentlessly bullied and physically assaulted your daughter into your home, so that your daughter can now feel uncomfortable and unsafe in her own house, is outrageous. Oh, and your ex is an absolute idiot. Reply. Hi, there's a long history of gaslighting and control between my ex and I second-guess myself a lot when it comes to our co-parenting. He negotiates for a living so he can be quite compelling. He'll provide an update, but this has given me the reassurance I need that I'm right and I won't be coerced. Update. Well, as a first-time poster and long-time fan of this forum, that escalated quickly. I had to mute my notifications. I genuinely did not expect my original post to blow up the way it did. I thought maybe a handful of people might respond, but wow. The comments had me giggling, welling up, fist-pumping, and more importantly, standing my ground. I read every single take, and I have to say, you showed up. The solidarity, the theories, no, I do not know if he's sleeping with her mom, the sheer volume of support, better than therapy. No shade to therapists. The themes and perspectives shared were powerful. I feel like I'm not crazy and I've been listening to the wrong voices for too long. Here's the update you all deserve. No. I will not be inviting the bully to my daughter's party. The collective hive mind gave me the nerve and clarity to say, actually, no, we're not doing that, to my ex-husband today. I'm protecting my girl, full stop. No more second guessing. No more, maybe I'm overreacting. No more guilt. Just a clear, calm mama bear doing what's right. Being a parent is hard. Co-parenting with a man who has a history of belittling my voice is harder. But this thread gave me strength I didn't know I had. I won't forget it. I promise to update you all when my co-parent rears his face again. I'm sure it won't be long. From the bottom of my permanently scared I'm doing the wrong thing little mum heart, thank you. Love from a very empowered mum who knows she did the right thing. Stories number 14. AITA for banning my wife's friend from my house after pushed me for taking my drunk wife home. My wife is 27 and I am 28. My wife has a friend, a bit of a close friend, in fact she's been friends with her since past 2 years. I don't like her at all and a lot of people find her insufferable. This weekend my wife told me that she's going to her friend's house and she'll spend her evening and night at her place with their 2 other friends. I asked her if they'll drink, she told me yes, but she won't go overboard this time and she'll book a cab and come to home before 10. I told my wife that she won't book a cab, I'll come pick her up and she shouldn't drink a lot. She promised me she won't, but I had this feeling that she might drink too much cause my wife has tendencies of overdrinking especially when she's excited and partying, so I went to pick her up an hour before. When I showed up at her friend's place I saw all these drunk women dancing, drinking, and screaming like they ran out of mental asylum, and my wife was laying on the couch clearly drunk. I grabbed my wife and told her it's time to leave. Her friend stopped me and insisted to let my wife stay for a bit longer, and even my wife said to wait for a bit. I told them that they've been having fun and drinking for so many hours and it's more than enough for today. When I tried to leave with my wife her friend tried to stop me a bit forcefully, and when I didn't listen to her she pushed me and called me controlling and cursed me in front of everyone. I told her that the only reason I am not retaliating is because she's a woman and I'm in her house, but from this moment she's not allowed in my house, and if she comes over to my house ever again I'll call the police. I left with my wife and after we got home I fed her, which she puked at midnight, and went to sleep with me, and she didn't sleep until midnight and didn't let me sleep either and kept saying, my husband, and hugged me, and she kept complimenting me. I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy that, but anyway, now her friends, all of them, are telling me that I'm being a controlling husband and I have no right to tell my wife what she can and she can't do, and I don't have the right to ban her friend from her house. Am I the asshole? Sure, I'm a bit angry, but my anger is not without a reason, and if I appear as a controlling husband, I think my wife's situation warrants it, and I'm just doing what I think is best for my wife. AITA has no consensus bot. OOP received mixed reactions. Relevant comments. OOP responds to multiple comments about him being controlling his wife's drinking and social habits. Downvoted how often I control my wife's drinking habits. As often as I can. I don't want her to die of alcohol poisoning or something of sort when we are still so damn young. I'm not her father, I'm her husband, and if it makes me a controlling husband just because I'm making sure my wife doesn't overdrink and trying to save the life of the person I love the most, then I'll gladly accept that I'm the most controlling husband on this planet alive. But dramatic, right? I feel the same way when I see my wife wasted, so if she can't control her drinking then I'll do it on her behalf. I'm not sure how old you are or if you are okay with your loved ones ruining their life, but I think alcohol is a real problem, at least what I think. Not sure about you. Commenter 1, we need more. What did your wife have to say the next day when the hangover passed and she learned all that happened? Reply, my wife didn't remember exactly what happened. My wife agreed with me when I told her that her friend is no longer allowed in my house. Her question to me was that, if she was really that drunk, I just said yes, and I told her that I'm not letting her get drunk like this ever again. She didn't meet or go over to her friend's house after that weekend, and she didn't drink more a shot a day. I see improvement and her guilty, so I'm taking it slow with her and letting her think for herself. It's actually so stupid and concerning that most of the Redditors here are saying that I'm controlling but do not understand my wife's drinking habits. I know my wife has a problem with alcohol, and I hope and pray to God that my wife would be just as controlling and do whatever needs to be done to help me escape my addiction if I ask as in her stead. My wife is addicted and her friends are encouraging her instead of helping her stop. Do these commenters have any experience what it's like to live with an alcoholic? To clean puke at midnight? It's not in me to just give up on my love and find someone else. I would rather try my best to help my wife than just divorcing her and leave her on her own. I love her more than anything else, and if I have to become a controlling husband I will, as long as she stops getting drunk like this. I will do whatever it takes to help her with her alcoholism, and if it makes me an abuser or controlling husband then I'm okay with that, as long as my wife is healthy and lead a good life without alcohol. I'm losing my mind by just reading these comments. Commenter 2, Ta, you weren't controlling, you were looking out for your wife's safety. She was too drunk to make good decisions, and you made sure she got home safely. Her friend pushing you and cursing at you was completely out of line. You have every right to ban someone from your house if they treat you with disrespect. Your wife's friends can be mad all they want, but they weren't the ones who had to take care of her all night. Reply, I'm just concerned about my wife and her safety and our lives. I don't care about anything else. I know my wife and I know how much she drinks, and I'm trying to do what's best for her. I'm not sure what these Redditors are thinking. They think I'm controlling every action of my wife. Like she has to ask for my permission for everything she has to do. No, but when it comes to alcohol my wife clearly can't handle it and take care of herself, so as her husband I'll do what must be done. It's addiction and my wife is having problem with it. My wife loves me and that's why she's with me. God forbid a spouse tries to put a stop to intoxication and takes care of their spouse when they are intoxicated. Update. First off, I want to thank everyone for their helpful advice, and I didn't even realize that my post blew up, that I got 6k comments on my post. I stopped reading and started focusing on my wife and her health instead. When I logged back I read a lot of comments. Obviously I couldn't go through them all, so to clarify, yes, when it comes to drinking I'm a bit controlling. I keep my eyes on her and make sure she doesn't overdrink, and I won't let her grab a cab when she's drunk. I'm not sure why some people were upset that I didn't let my drunk wife grab a cab alone back home and picked her up instead. Even if I am at work and if she calls me I'll leave work and go drive her home. It's not codependency, I'm just taking care of my wife when she's vulnerable. If she's sober I obviously have no need to go through all this. I'm not her father, I'm her husband, and I feel like it's my responsibility to help and take care of her when she's drunk. I told my wife that she's been drinking way too much. The amount of alcohol she consumes during social events is obnoxious, and even on daily basis. I told her that after I brought her back from her friend's home she drank only a shot a day when I was present, but when I wasn't with her did she drink even more? I would never know. I told her that I want to help her and doesn't want to lose her, but I also don't want to clean her puke and floor all the time, and your friends actually encourage you to drink more instead of stopping you, and when I tried to pick you up like I always do her friend pushed me. She said she didn't realize that she was causing me so much trouble and she's going to stop drinking. I told her that drinking is fine as long as it's occasional and in moderation. Since then my wife didn't drink much. She drank yesterday after almost a week but didn't go overboard, and she said she'll seek counselor and seek medical treatment if she can't control herself. Am I controlling? Yes, I guess, but only when it comes to alcohol. Even I didn't realize that my wife is getting addicted or already got addicted, and like others commented that I can't forcefully help my wife and she'll start blaming me, etc. I still don't want to give on my love. I love her and I know she loves me. She confesses her love to me in even more embarrassing way than just hugging me and repeating, my husband. I'm not a professional but I'm currently making my wife exercise and make sure she takes enough multivitamins. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. She said she didn't realize that she was causing me so much trouble and she's going to stop drinking. I told her that drinking is fine as long as it's occasional and in moderation. I don't think your understanding of how alcoholism works. Occasional and in moderation doesn't exist for addicts. Their issue is that they can't stop after 1 to 2. They either don't drink, or they drink until they black out or pass out. I appreciate you not wanting to be controlling, but in this case it's absolutely okay to say, no alcohol, period. It'd be better for her. Reply, I hate to say it but not being able to stop oneself sounds so much like what my wife does. Commenter 2, we don't know enough to say this is what she does though. I think the person with her every day is much better at making a judgments. She definitely has an issue with alcohol, but I would hold up on claiming she is already addicted. Some people just never learn that you don't have to go from 0, 100 every time. Especially when they first start drinking in. It also does not help if you're partying with friends who also do the same. Reply, for now my wife went for days without alcohol and I felt like she's not a full-blown addict like other alcoholic. She told me that she would seek professional help if she failed to control herself from drinking. Now I don't know if she drank behind my back and kept it hidden from me. Maybe I should tell her to seek counseling anyway to find out what's bothering her and why is she drinking, just to be safe. OOP responds to clarify the facts on taking care of his wife like a father, not her husband. Reply, I didn't write this post after so many days because people called me the asshole and I don't care if online strangers think I'm an asshole and hate me cause at the end of the day neither of us know each other and for me the only thing that matters is my wife and her alcohol problem. I didn't mention the details about my wife and her alcohol relation because my post was about her friend and banning her because she pushed me. I did however talked about it in replies. But after reading multiple women sharing their experience similar to my wife I started focusing on my wife instead. And no, I'm not taking care of my wife like her dad, I'm taking care of my wife like she's sick. Cause this unhealthy lifestyle is sickness, at least in my eyes. If I'm sick and struggling with substances I pray to God my wife will take care of me and baby me until I recover. As a partner it's your responsibility to help your partner when they are sick. Maybe you don't agree with that and that's okay but I will make sure to do whatever is necessary to keep my wife healthy and safe. And yeah, you are right about controlling part. I agree I'm controlling when it comes to alcohol. I would rather be a bit controlling than lose her forever. Stories number 15. AITA for tearing into my mother after she made a disrespectful comments about my daughter's appearance. I 35, have a daughter who is 16 years old. She was diagnosed with alopecia, forgive me if I spelt it wrong, she lost all of her hair 4 months ago. She had a boyfriend who broke up with her after she lost her hair. She is extremely insecure about it. We had to switch her to online school, she was getting severely bullied. My daughter doesn't like for anyone see her without wigs. She doesn't like to be natural around me either. It's heartbreaking because I think she's super gorgeous, but due to her getting bullied and her boyfriend breaking up with her, her mental health went downhill. Her father and I have her in therapy. We do everything we can to be supportive. Today my mother came over for dinner. My daughter came downstairs without a wig. I was so happy she was finally comfortable enough to not wear a wig. My mother has outdated views on things, and she has impossible beauty standards. My daughter was sitting at the dinner table. Everything was going fine for a few minutes. My mother opened her mouth, and said, "You have wigs. Why don't you wear them? You're making me very uncomfortable. What makes you think me or anyone else would want to look at that?" My daughter was in tears, and ran upstairs to her room and slammed her door. Her father went upstairs to check on her. I was furious. I yelled, "How dare you say some horrible shit like that to your granddaughter? Do you have any idea what she's been through? She was already getting bullied enough, and just for you to bully her and traumatize her some more? Get the fuck out of my house." My mother said, "It's just constructive criticism." I yelled, "That is not constructive criticism. That is bullying and making my daughter feel bad about herself. Leave." My mother left. My brother texted me, telling me I took it too far and that I should be ashamed for taking to my own mother that way. AITA. Should I have handled it differently? Stories number 16. AIO for threatening to take my sister to court after her toddler destroyed my $2,000 gaming setup because she said I should have baby-proofed my apartment. I'm F25 and I'm honestly at my breaking point with this one. I need outside perspective because my entire family is acting like I'm Hitler for standing my ground. So, I, 25F, am a student software developer and a pretty serious PC gamer in my free time. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment that I've spent years making cozy and functional. I saved up for a long time to build my dream PC setup, triple monitors, custom mechanical keyboard, ergonomic chair, the works. Altogether, my rig is worth a bit over $2,000, and I take care of it like it's a damn child. Last weekend, my older sister, 30F, asked if she could crash at my place for one night because her apartment was being fumigated, and her husband was out of town. She has a 3-year-old son, Max, who's, let's say, spirited. I love him, but he's a little chaos goblin. I hesitated, but she swore she'd keep an eye on him and that it'd just be for one night. They show up Saturday afternoon, and immediately it's clear she wasn't kidding about Max being a handful. Within 10 minutes of arriving, he'd pulled 4 books off my shelf, thrown my houseplants on the floor, and spilled juice on my area rug. I tried to stay chill. He's 3, I get it, but I asked my sister politely to please keep him out of my office, where my PC setup is. She rolls her eyes and goes, "He's just exploring, he's curious, it's normal." But she closes the office door anyway. Cut to Sunday morning. I wake up to screaming. Max had apparently woken up before his mom, managed to open the office door, and decided my setup was his new jungle gym. He pulled down one of my monitors, cracking the screen. He stuck crackers into the PC tower's ventilation slots, I'm not kidding, yanked out my keyboard's keycaps, and had colored on my chair with permanent marker. The cherry on top. He poured apple juice into the tower. Into it. When I tell you I went silent. I mean dead silent. My sister comes in, sees the damage, and just says, "Oh no," in this incredibly flat tone, like someone knocked over a cup of coffee. I start freaking out, and she has the audacity to say, "You should have baby-proofed the room if it was that important to you." I lost it. I told her that 1, she knew he wasn't supposed to be in there, 2, this is my space, not a damn daycare, and 3, baby-proofing a $2,000 gaming setup is not a standard requirement for adults living alone. She told me to calm down and said that he's just a kid, and stuff is replaceable. I told her she could replace it then. She said she didn't have the money right now, but maybe in a few months she could give me a few hundred. I told her that wasn't acceptable and that she needed to take full responsibility. She left in a huff and now my whole family is blowing up my phone. My mom says I'm being materialistic and should understand that my nephew didn't mean it. My dad said I should have locked the door if it was that important. My brother actually said, "Why do you even need 3 monitors anyway? That's kind of overkill." I filed a claim with my insurance but there's no guarantee it'll be covered since it was technically guest damage. I also told her that if she does not pay up, I'll take her to court for what happened. Now I'm getting texts from my sister demanding an apology for blaming her kid for being curious. I told her I'd drop it if she covered the cost of repairs and replacements, or at least met me halfway, and she blocked me. So, am I overreacting if I take my sister to court over this? Update, wow. Just wow, 4 hours later, I wake up from my nap to this. Thank you guys, it'll take a bit for me to read all of this. My sister still has not unblocked me, but her husband reached out to find out what happened. I'm sorry I don't have more to tell yet, but I'll update again when I do. Seriously, thanks for the insights everyone. My head is a lot clearer now. Update 2, hey all. My sister's husband reached out as mentioned earlier, and we're working out a solution if possible. He's been really understanding as have all of you. Also, to clarify the office situation, my 1-bedroom apartment is on the smaller side, 33 square meters 355 square feet, so the landlord converted an old ex-clothes cabinet into a makeshift office. It's weird, but the building is from the 40s, and they had to get creative with the space with an old tenant or something. So it's living room, sister and her kid slept there, plus kitchen, I slept there, plus the office. Thanks for all the support. And the award. I really don't have the words for how nice people have been in both DMs and the comments. Some of OOP's comments. OOP responds to one of the top comments. Reply, I really appreciate your comment, I feel as if you nailed exactly how I've been feeling but couldn't articulate in the moment. It's comforting to know I'm not totally off base here. I will need to see what I'm willing to do with this situation. I don't want to lose my family, but I don't want to start begging to be heard either. Thank you. Going no contact. Yeah, I'm not ready to go full no contact right now, but I really appreciate your perspective. It's definitely something I'll keep in mind if things keep escalating and no one starts showing even a little respect for my boundaries. I just want accountability, not drama. But if they keep pushing, I won't hesitate to step back. I don't think I want to know my family if they can't appreciate the work I put into my hobbies. Thanks for the insight. Commenter, questions. Does your office door lock? If so, why wasn't it locked? How was this unattended 3-year-old able to get his hands on crackers and apple juice in an apartment that he is presumably not familiar with? Why were these items so easy for him to get to? If you knew in advance that he and your sister were coming, why wouldn't you make any effort to either secure delicate important items or move them somewhere he can't reach? Reply, 1. The office is a converted clothes closet. The apartment's from the 40s and has a weird layout. There's no lock on the door is just a heavy old one. TBH, I've been wondering if my sister might have opened it for him. I just don't get why. 2. The crackers and juice weren't mine, sister brought them. I had no idea he had access to them during the night until after the fact. 3. I didn't get much notice. I saw her message around 10 a.m. Saturday, and they arrived around 2 p.m. My place was a mess, so I spent most of that time cleaning before they came by. In hindsight, yeah, I should have been more cautious with my setup, but it didn't even cross my mind that anything like this would happen, as I thought the office area was inaccessible to him. What he did pull off of the shelves was moved higher up and out of reach and in an area where he could be kept an eye on. Update post. Hey again, just wanted to post a quick update since it's been a little under a week and a few people asked what happened next. Things are better, pretty fucking weird, and still ongoing, but here's where we're at. Last Saturday, my brother-in-law, BL, came over to check out the damage himself. He actually brought Max, toddler, with him, which I was almost livid about at first, but he had a reason. He asked Max to try opening the office closet door. The kid couldn't do it. The door was too heavy for him. You probably can guess where this is going. BIL offered to take my PC to the store that originally built it for me, just to see what was fixable. I agreed, but asked for something in writing just so I had some peace of mind. We put together a little agreement that he'd be responsible for it while it was with him. Yeah, it was just a formality and would not hold much merit anywhere, but it helped me feel a bit more in control. On Monday, he dropped it off at the shop and gave them my number so they could keep me updated. He also told me he confronted my sister about how things played out. I sent him my original Reddit post too. He read the comments and apparently showed them to her. She still hasn't unblocked me, and from what I've heard, was not happy about the fact my BIL is actually listening to me. I also shared the post and some comments with my parents and brother since no one really believed me before. My parents still don't fully get it, but they've at least stopped pushing back. My brother is more understanding now, though for some reason he mostly wanted to talk about how many people saw the post. I don't think either of those three still care, really, and I'm fine if they see this. Do better. Anyway, I went to see the PC today, Wednesday here. The shop said it's mostly salvageable. It needs a very careful internal clean and a few fans replaced, and some wiring fixed, but overall the main parts survived somehow. BL told me he'll cover the cost of the repair, no hesitation. When I brought up what my sister said about not being able to pay even $200, he said she's lying. He also said he's not sure Max actually did all the damage. He thinks the door was left open on purpose, or that my sister might have even done some of it herself. Based on the height of the tower and where the crackers ended up, it didn't quite add up to a toddler acting alone. Apparently, she's been telling him I have a gambling addiction. I did get a bit hooked on Genshin like 4 years ago, I guess, and that maybe this whole thing will wake me up, which is new. She used to be supportive or at least indifferent. No idea where that switch came from, so yeah. That's where we're at. My PC is being cleaned up and fixed, and BAL is covering the cost. Sister still has me blocked and won't talk to me. Still tempted to start something with her TBH, especially if she actually did all of this on purpose. Still not ruling out small claims court depending on how things go. Thanks again to everyone who responded to the original post. Seeing how many people understood what happened really helped me hold the line with my family when I felt like I was losing my mind. One thing I've been turning over in my head lately is what if my sister did do something to my setup on purpose? I don't want to believe that, it feels like a stretch, but the more I think about it, the less so, I guess. But then I remember how she acted when I asked her to keep Max out of the office. The eye roll and the "he's just curious" comments like she didn't take any of it seriously. And now hearing from my BL that she's been saying I have a crippling gambling gaming whatever addiction and needed to grow up. It's just weird. She used to be cool about it. Never super into games herself, but she got that it was important to me. If something changed, I don't know when or why. And if this was some weird way to make a point or teach me a lesson, that's messed up. You're not our mom. How about talking first instead of this? I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the more I think about it, the less it makes sense that Max could have done all of that alone. It's sick if she blamed her own son for it, so yeah. Not accusing anyone outright, but that thought is there now, and if you're my sister reading this, which I'm guessing you are, because I bet you'd love to look at the comments that are on your side a lot, I don't know why you blocked me. I don't know what shifted in your head about all this. But if you actually had anything to do with damaging my setup, whether it was on purpose or just through complete carelessness. Fuck. You. You know I worked hard for that. You know what that rig meant to me, and you know I would never do something like this to your stuff. And if Max really did all of it on his own, I hope you're paying closer attention now. Not for my sake, but for his. Read the comments on my first post again, from other parents and people with younger siblings who clearly know better than you. That's all, thanks for reading, those who did. Sum of comments. Commenter, wait, I thought the whole family was blowing up your phone telling you how mean you were. Reply, yes, a week ago, before my first post. Is there something I can clarify for you here? My sister was talking incredible smack about me to them, making it seem like I screamed at her child over a minor mistake. I do see the people going, haha, blowing up her phone, and I do not understand what is wrong with the wording. Commenter, I think chat is being used a lot on Reddit lately, especially in AITA type subs, and a common indicator that it's a fake post is that AI always uses the blowing up my phone phrase, so that's probably why they're questioning it. Reply, oh. I see. Thank you for clarifying. Beep, boop. Commenter, I'm really glad things are turning for the better. But what about the other damages, gaming chair, keyboard, etc.? Reply, my chair is okay, the cushion, legs and back are stained with red permanent marker, but I've learned to live with it. Co-workers and I are trying to find a chemical to fix the situation on the cushions, but an ethanol solution, small amounts, I don't want to ruin the chair further, has slowly been working at cleaning the other parts. Being a janitor does have its perks. Keyboard, I could not find all of the keycaps that were pulled off. I replaced the missing ones with an old keyboard's ones, both mechanical, so it's a bit awkward but it works for now. I might get custom ones for it if I find some that fit. The cracked monitor on the other hand needs to be replaced. I guess calling it cracked was a kindness in itself. Still got the other two left, and at least it wasn't the most expensive one, but yeah. 3. Commenter, why aren't you just having your bill pay for a new keyboard and monitor? Or professional cleaning for the chair? That's all part of the repairs. Reply, we are waiting to see if my sister confesses to anything. If so, she will be paying out of her own pocket, and paying back, not my bail. If she confesses and refuses, then, well, the computer is essential, but the keyboard works and I still have 2 monitors. That's why I am willing to wait for the other damage to be solved. The addiction. I'll admit, during COVID, I did spend $300 on Ganyu when she came out, but that was the worst of it. And it was so worth it. I don't play much anymore, mostly stuck on Marvel Rivals right now, but the overall margin from Genshin release to this day I've spent under $600. I get it, even that might look crazy to people who don't play video games, but sheesh. Gambling addiction. Bruh, she should be more concerned of what I spend on Pokemon packs in this economy, if she's gotta be concerned over something. Stories number 17. AITA for dropping my elderly parents off at a hotel and blocking their numbers. I, M25, just picked up my parents, M74 and F69, from the airport after 4-ish days notice of them arriving. I got a call Saturday, 04/19/25, from my mom telling me that she and my dad bought a plane ticket to come see me. For context, my parents live in SoCal and I live in Kansas. I think for any other family this would be news to be celebrated, who wouldn't want to see their parents by surprise after 4 years apart? Me. I wouldn't. My parents were so horrifically abusive to me growing up that I don't think I'd be able to paint a satisfying picture of the severity if I had the rest of my life to do it. I was physically, psychologically, and emotionally abused by them for most of my childhood until I was kicked out at 17 because they suspected I was gay. We lived in broken down RVs with no running water or electricity and cars most of my childhood, and on top of that they justified all of the mistreatment by using the Bible against me for everything. I was not allowed to make mistakes, I was not allowed to grow and to challenge and to be a kid. They robbed me of my innocence and of my childhood, and they have caused so much irrevocable damage. Now, after years of being alone, my father has developed dementia and my mother has become his caretaker. It made sense to me for this to become the natural progression of things because my mom has always been his caretaker and both of them are far too stubborn to ever admit that they need help beyond their capacity. I've said for years that my mom needs to figure out a way to get him into hospice or something before he gets worse and forgets how to eat or shit or whatever, and especially before he gets abusive. That's never happened. A few months ago my father's geriatric doctor reached out to me sharing that she was trying to gauge my mom's capacity for being able to help my dad. She was mostly vague with her questions due to HIPAA laws, but I just shared with her my experiences with them over the phone, that I thought he needed to be in hospice, etc. I never got follow-up, and my parents remain in their apartment with my mom as my dad's caretaker. I apologize if I seem all over the place or if this seems incoherent. I'm just truly at a loss for words and I'm frantic right now. Today, my parents arrived to Kansas without a ride lined up, without a hotel or living arrangements booked, without a plan. Apparently just to come see me. They barely have the money to get by. I don't know how they had the money to fly out here. When my mom called, I spent an hour trying to explain to her why it was such a horrible idea. My dad could lose his shit in the airport, he could get lost from my mom, they could miss a connecting flight, they could have a health issue on the plane, so many fucking things could go wrong on the way here. In top of that, my dad is a dark-skinned Latino man, and right now things are a little dangerous for people that look like him. I spoke to family and friends who I trust, and they all thought that this was an insane situation, and they all urged me to just let them figure it out on their own. They're not my responsibility, but I picked them up from the airport. Despite all the abuse, despite the trauma, despite them completely not earning any sort of relationship with me, I picked them up and took them to a hotel nearby with room that they could hopefully afford. This is the most triggering experience I've had in fucking years, and it feels like I'm living a waking nightmare. My dad's condition was way worse than I initially thought. He could barely put his seatbelt on, he didn't know what day it was or where he was, he couldn't follow my mom into the hotel without me yelling at her to keep an eye on him and me walking over to guide him to the door. This person is supposed to be his caretaker, and yet she wasn't even keeping an eye on him. I walked into the hotel with them to have one final conversation with my mom, one more talk to try desperately to get them to see reason, to get my mom to understand the insane gravity of brining a man with dementia on a plane to a state that isn't safe for them without a plan, without anything booked, and of course my mom wouldn't even consider what I had to say. She completely dismissed it and went on about how she has no help, how she's a kind person and hasn't done anything to deserve her family, who lives here in Kansas as well, not doing anything to support her. I left. I felt like the biggest piece of shit walking away from my mom as she started crying to herself. Despite her stubbornness and her insanely delusional thinking, she's in this situation because of the abuse of my father too. I walked out as my dad watched me with confused, slightly glassy eyes, and now all that sits in my head is this scene of two completely broken, nearly helpless adults that raised me. I haven't actually blocked them, but gods, I want to. I'm 25. I know I'm an adult, but I feel so small and so completely dumbfounded as to what I should do. AITA, if I block my parents? I am so broke and work so much that I don't even think I'd have the time if I wanted to figure out what the fuck to do with them, and they're supposed to be here for 9 days. I don't even know if they can afford a hotel for the rest of their visit. I think they were planning on our family to take them in, but they just want nothing to do with them. I'm just so tired. I don't even know how to process this. I need guidance, please. Stories number 18. My partner cutting off a lifelong family friend because of her inappropriate messages. So I am in a kind of fucked up situation. I mean, I know I am right to have my boundaries, but I also feel guilty that my husband is cutting off help to lifelong family friends because of me. My husband is a doctor, so it's normal that family and friends kind of come to him for reassurance, because someone you know either reaffirming what you were told or giving you a referral if possible makes people feel better. Zero issues there. I love that he is empathetic, and it honestly makes me wicked proud of him that people think that highly of him. So he has a friend who he grew up with, their families pretty much raised them together. They were always friends since we met, but never like super close, plus we live in a different part of the US. I have met her multiple times and she seemed very sweet. She also was married when I originally met her and has 2 kids. Well, her father is very sick with a type of cancer that has a low rate of recovery. We live in the Northeast and they live down south, so our medical care is definitely exponentially better. My husband has been helping consult and just being a good friend to them to make sure he gets the best care possible. This friend has been a bit needy and using him for emotional support. I get it, I'm not jealous because what we have is solid. Plus, when he has his medical mindset, that's it. Well, over the weekend he woke up to some very questionable texts from this friend. She pretty much declared her love for him, claimed God brought them together through this and that she always knew they'd end up together. Like what the actual fuck? He told me as soon as he saw them in the morning. He messaged her back saying that what she said was highly inappropriate, she needs to find a therapist, and that he no longer can help out. She claimed she was drinking and emotional. She also begged him not to tell me. We don't keep secrets. He blocked her number. I don't know what she told his mom exactly, but she's so angry and apparently it's all my fault. We don't like each other either. I'm not the Christian housewife she envisioned me for her son, I guess. I didn't ask him to cut all ties, he did it out of respect and says that she has doctors and family to lean on. I feel slightly guilty because I hope that this doesn't impact quality of care. Maybe there was a way to cut her out and my husband helps her mom with medical stuff when needed. This whole situation has been making me feel gross. AITA. I don't think I am, but I feel bad. Stories number 19. My new neighbor is hosting a dirt bike rally every Sunday. Tips. We live in a rural area with acreage. Previous our neighborhood is a quite little valley with horses and such. One of the homes has recently been sold and nearly every weekend there is a huge amount of vehicles and dirt bikes circling around their 10-acre land that used to be a horse run. Already contacted city noise enforcement. Adjacent neighbors are pissed. I suspect unlawful commercial activity on a residential lot, too many cars for friends and family. What can we do besides calling the cops repeatedly? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I see this kind of thing from people all of the time. If you don't own the land, there's nothing you can do as long as they aren't violating any kind of ordinance. Reply, unfortunately, they are. Commenter 2, go to your town planning office and find out what the land is zoned for. If it's that much a nuisance, ask the municipality what can be done. Reply, there is already an email list going with the neighbors. Seems like I am not the only one bothered by it. Commenter 3, welcome to rural life. People buy 10 acres so they can do what they want. If you don't want dirt bikes, head to the suburbs. Reply, I get what you are saying. But what they are doing is actually against the county ordinance code. It's also zoned residential and they seem to be running a chimerical operation. Commenter 4, what code? Riding dirt bikes and making noise is not against code unless it's before 7 a.m. and after 9 p.m., usually, every town is different. Reply, our particular town has a noise ordinance where any noise exceed 80 dB is a problem on residential land for any time. Dirt bike is over 80 dB. The ordinance includes daytime. Update, consequence of having a moto rally in a residential neighborhood. I previously posted about where we live, a quiet rural residential neighborhood with acreage and a lot of equestrians. Some bought the biggest lot and began to convert the lot into an off-road motorcycle rally park and hosted noisy motorcycle rally for days on end into the dead of night. This person managed to piss off all his new neighbors. So here's what happened since. In the last thread, someone hired a drone pilot who videotaped his antics and sent it in to the local government. The building department initially red-tagged his property as he was trying to use truckloads of dirt to completely fill up a creek watershed, which is NONO in California given the environmental protection here. This would have been an incredibly expensive fix since now he needs to dig up all the fill. Our neighborhood's approach has been incredibly petty and passive-aggressive since this individual did not respond to the usual plead and reasoning. He refused to communicate with us directly and refused the usual courtesy like, please try not to have a moto rally at 1 a.m. He also lives elsewhere and immediately rented out this property upon purchase so he doesn't have to deal with the noise issue when his tenant is having those rallies. So our approach has been one of escalation and investigation into possible illegal activity every time the rally happen. And in spring of 2025 they decided to host another rally into the night after a year of quietness. This time, we were able to dig up owner's identity through standard real estate research. Identity are public info. It turns out that he probably isn't a super wealthy individual like many of our neighbor but rather someone who decided to possibly put his entire net worth to purchase the lot, with the most run-down home in the neighborhood. It turns out that since last year, the building department discovered 3 more illegal building on the property such as horse barn and gazebo. He seems to be trying to DIY the permit and not hiring the right people so he's stuck in the red tape. All this must have gotten expensive and his wife filed for a divorce in the past few months, which may or may not be related. This time, he was reported for mortgage fraud as he never occupied the property and rumor has it he has filed for the mortgage that needs owner occupation. We'll see. I am sure he's beginning to put 2 and 2 together regarding the legal trouble he's in each time he rides his bike for hours on end into the night here. Some stuff just happened. As to the noise issue, our local government actually informed us that in addition to enforcement, a civil lawsuit from a band of neighbors can be considered, so that's probably our next step. Goal is to deplete his resource so much that he'll have to sell his bike. I might buy it. I won't, however, try to race this bike within a residential neighborhood. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, buy it. Get permits to turn it into a community garden or hiking preserve where people can just come to breathe. Pretty sure you could partner with the local county, garden nurseries, and the like to sponsor kid-friendly garden learning spots, and I'm also betting some of your neighbors would appreciate fresh produce. And you could get sponsorship for a farmer's market booth that volunteers could staff. Or just build yourself a quiet retreat. Reply, only if that person is forced to sell. Commenter, so, normally I would be sympathetic, but the exact type of people complaining here are also the kind of people who buy land close to existing tracks, build homes near the existing track, then complain to local government about the noise until the track that existed well before they ever came to the area is shut down. They bring it on themselves. There is nowhere to build a track anymore, because this happens consistently. Track pops up, gets popular because there are so few, people buy the cheap land around the track because it's cheap due to proximity to the track gets shut down. Repeat until you have no sympathy left for homeowners complaining about track noise. Reply, our neighborhood is 2 hours away from the nearest pre-existing racetrack. Your post talk about homeowners buying near an existing track and complain to shut the track down. My post talk about someone moving into a quiet neighborhood that previously never had a track, try to build one illegally, and got busted for doing so. Am I missing anything here? Commenter 3, buy it and turn it into a butterfly reserve. Those things are pretty quiet. Stories number 20. AIO for banning my son's friend from any more play dates after I had to help him wipe. For some context, my youngest is 6 years old. He's potty trained and I've always taught him, and my other kids when they were younger, how to wipe and take care of toilet time themselves. All of my kids knew how to use the bathroom properly by age 4, accidents did still happen but that's just standard. My son recently made a new friend, also 6, at his school. He seems to be a new addition to his class as my son tells me he's not been there before and I've also not seen the child before up until a few weeks ago. Yesterday at pickup my son and his new friend run up to me to ask if he can come over for dinner. I'm a firm believer in meeting the parents first to discuss anything important like allergies, health issues, and also just because it should be the standard to at least know a little about the parents. Before I could actually get a yes or a no out, the boy's mom comes over and says she'll come and pick him up at 7. This put me on the spot so I said that's fine even though it felt a little weird that she didn't seem concerned about who her child was going off with. We exchanged numbers and I took the boys back to ours. About an hour in I hear my son's friend calling for some help while he was in the bathroom. He told me he's done his poo and needs me to wipe. Honestly I was taken back because my own son knows how to do this and I wasn't made aware by the boy's mom that he didn't know how to wipe yet. I also just felt uncomfortable with it since I wouldn't want a stranger wiping my child so I didn't want to be doing that to someone else's child who I hardly even know. It just felt morally wrong to be doing that without explicit permission from a parent. I tried to talk him through it with the door closed which took a while but finally it all seemed fine and he came out. 7 p.m. rolls around and finally his mom comes to pick him up. I explained the situation to her as nice as possible and said that respectfully until her son knows how to wipe himself he shouldn't be going to play dates and that until then he can no longer come over. She didn't say anything and left pretty abruptly. Later on I got a message from her saying I was wrong to not have helped as now he had poo all over his backside which is why I should have helped. I explained again that I wasn't comfortable doing that with someone else's child especially when I wasn't notified about it beforehand. She called me petty and cruel for leaving him like that and said I was massively overreacting. I feel bad for leaving the child like that, although I didn't know he was covered in poo and definitely wasn't going to check if he had wiped properly. But I also feel as though my reasoning was valid. Edit, I want to add some details since there's a lot of assumptions. 1. I didn't intentionally leave him with poop on his backside, he told me he was done and I wasn't about to check if that was the truth. 2. No one was humiliated, the boys were still playing when mom came to pick him up and I quietly told her what had happened, the boy did not hear and my son also wasn't aware of the situation. 3. They are still friends at school so none of them have lost a friend, I simply do not want the other boy to be at my house until he can wipe and for obvious reasons my son won't be going to his house and they both seem happy with that. 4. If it was my husband who had been asked to wipe the boy would he be expected to as well? I have a feeling if I was a man in this situation no one would have wanted me to help wipe the child. Another edit, I've just got back from school pickup and another mom came over while in the car park and asked how the play date went. I didn't share the story but the first thing she asked was if there was any toilet issues. I didn't want to make light of the situation so I said no but she told me that before half-term the same boy had been to their home and had the exact same issue I did. She told me her son went into the bathroom with him to demonstrate and checked he was fine so this isn't the first time this has happened and obviously the mom is very aware. I didn't mention it and said all was fine because I don't want that information being shared but clearly it's an issue that needs addressing and I was not a one-off case. Stories number 21. AITA for publicly shaming 2 elderly neighbors and filing a lawsuit against them. So, I, 30s, live in a mid-sized apartment building with a pretty standard setup. There's a building council that oversees maintenance, budget, admin stuff, etc. Everything went relatively smooth until 2 elderly neighbors, let's call them Mike and Maud, both in their 60s to 70s, decided to make the building their personal chessboard. Mike and Maud got themselves voted onto the council this year, but not exactly by the book. They took over the annual assembly as president and secretary of the session, despite not being neutral parties, changed the voting rules mid-meeting, and ignored every objection that didn't suit them. The official minutes that came out later, full of omissions and lies, including a claim that the vote for the council, which they now sat on, was unanimous. Spoiler, it wasn't. I was the only one actually voted in through real consensus. Since then, they've overstepped their role over and over, publishing official documents before they were even registered with local authorities, acting on behalf of the building without authorization, and most recently trying to get me to sign off on a contract, as a council, without even involving the building's administrator. That's illegal where we live. Earlier this year, Mike made a completely false claim that the community could be subject to asset seizures due to a pending labor lawsuit, again, not how the law works. I'm fairly certain that was meant to scare everyone into letting them settle things without review or transparency. I tried to handle things quietly. I've been patient. I've offered peaceful ways out. But now, I've filed a lawsuit to challenge the legitimacy of the assembly minutes and their actions. I'm also preparing a full public report to the community, detailing everything, and yeah, it names names. I've been told I'm being petty, or cruel, that they're elderly and maybe they didn't mean harm. But at some point, not meaning harm still leads to serious consequences. They've lied, manipulated, and acted like they were above oversight. The community deserves the full truth. AITA for going full transparency mode and dragging them publicly, and legally, after trying to keep things civil for months. TLDR, 2 elderly neighbors hijacked the building council through sketchy means, lied in the official records, overstepped their legal authority multiple times, and spread misinformation. After months of trying to handle it quietly, I filed a lawsuit and went public with the receipts. Now some say I'm being mean to old folks. AITA. Stories number 22. AITA for not helping a random guy get into his car. I am a 20-year-old woman, and this morning I was sitting in my car in a parking lot waiting for an appointment. A man came up to my window and I did not roll it down to speak to him, so he spoke loudly enough for me to hear. He said that he was locked out of his car and he needed my key to get in. I said no. He kept saying stuff to me and getting angry, but I just shook my head and ignored him. He goes back to his car and then comes back over to me a second time. He said, "Our cars are the same model and year, your key can get me into my car." I said, "That's not going to work." He said, "Yes, it will, please just give me your key." I said, "I don't have a key," and he got really angry and started cussing at me and flipping me off and kept yelling at me. He went back to his car and then came back over to me a third time. I refused to look at him, but he kept getting in my line of sight and cussing at me and yelling. I shook my head at him and kept saying, "No." He flipped me off several times and kept cussing at me and yelling at me, but then went back to his car. I then saw him talk to several other people and point at me, and the people would turn to look at me and then walk away. It looked like he was explaining his situation to them and telling them I refused to help him. One of the people he talked to even yelled at me, "He needs your key." I shook my head at him, too. I eventually had to get out of my car to go to my appointment, and the guy started yelling at me and cussing again, and I quickly made sure my doors were locked and got away from him. While I was leaving, I saw a locksmith or something help him open his car, so it turns out he was being truthful. I truly don't think I did anything wrong, but apparently not everyone thinks so, since even some random person he talked to tried to get me to help as well. First of all, I think a grown man should be able to understand that aggressively approaching a girl while she is alone is not wise, and that the girl is obviously not going to feel safe going to a random man's car by herself. I understand that he needed help, but being aggressive and yelling and cussing at what looks like a teenage girl is not the right way to go about that situation. Second, I don't believe that my key would unlock his car, and I'm not sure why he and another guy believe that. Am I in the wrong at all? He was genuinely locked out of his car and I didn't help him. Stories number 23. AITA for not changing therapists despite my wife thinking I'm having an affair with mine. I, 32, have been involved in a violent incident a few years back as one of the survivors. I don't want to go into too much detail, but it has obviously left a mark. At first I thought I was doing okay, but as the weeks passed I was becoming more irritable and less present. I couldn't sleep, I lashed out, and I was struggling at work. I kept having thoughts about how I could have acted differently, or how I could have avoided the situation altogether, or how I could save people. And sometimes those thoughts would come at the worst moments and ruin a full night's sleep, or a great day with our daughter. It was really hard. The worst part was that I was being really impatient with our daughter, 6, and I started to really hate the parent I was becoming and even avoiding her. My wife, 27, was very patient at first, but eventually she had enough as well, and we realized this wasn't going to work long term, and I needed help. So I started therapy and medication. And this came with 2 major issues. First, medication took a long time to start working and I was dealing with side effects before I ever felt the actual effect. The other issue is that I had a hard time finding a therapist I could actually connect with. I don't say they did anything wrong, but there was always a lot of silence and what I felt was judgment involved. I felt guilty for not doing well, for not getting better, etc., but things eventually did get better. Part of it I think was the meds, but another part was my therapist. She very quickly realized that silence made me uncomfortable, and tried what she herself says some of her colleagues frown upon. She sometimes just shoots the breeze with me. So she tells me about her own experiences sometimes, or even talks about unrelated stuff, and it really helped put me at ease and open up, and sessions have been going really well for months now. I feel I've been doing better and better able to process things. I haven't been sleeping as well as I hoped I would, but I've been doing better. I've been a better husband and better father, and I owe at least some of it to my therapist. A few weeks ago my car was in the shop, and I had my wife drop me off at therapy. Then she saw my therapist and they exchanged pleasantries before my wife took our daughter to a nearby playground to wait to pick me up. When she picked me up she clearly had something on her mind, but she wouldn't tell me what the issue was. After a few days of her being distant I confronted her again and she eventually confessed that she thought I had a crush on my therapist. She said the therapist has arm tattoos, which she knows I like, and she says she saw the therapist touching her hair which indicates she's into me as well, and she now thinks that the reason I've been doing better is that I'm feeling guilty about the affair I'm having. I told my wife that I wasn't having an affair. She's not my mistress, she's not even my friend, she's a professional I pay to help me deal with my issue, and me doing well speaks for itself, and besides she could probably lose her license for dating a patient, so even if there was something there nothing would ever happen, to which my wife said that I shouldn't have an issue changing therapists then and finding someone less attractive. I don't find my therapist particularly attractive, though I don't think it's relevant anyway. I refused. I've been trying to explain that changing a therapist I actually get along with and is helping me is a bad idea. And besides, I don't want to reward what I think is unreasonable behavior. If my wife can't trust me, then I think our issues are bigger than me changing or not changing my therapy. But how do I bring this up delicately? And this is an issue I don't know if I'm comfortable bringing up with my therapist because I worry it will make it more difficult for her to keep treating me, but also hiding things from my therapist clearly isn't going to improve my treatment any. Still, AITA if I don't think the answer is to just change therapists because my wife got jealous. Stories number 24. AITA for telling my girlfriend to stop saying my penis is big. The other day, my girlfriend got drunk with her friends, and they were talking about sex. My girlfriend mentioned something along the lines of, and this one guy I fucked was this fucking big, while holding up her hands. It was a lot of space between her hands. My girlfriend turned to me and I think she realized that was time with me around. Not gonna lie, my girlfriend being so giddy about having hooked up with a guy with such a large duck kind of hurt my confidence. I didn't say anything cause I figured this was a me problem. Anyways, next time we try to have sex she talks about how big I am, something she has never done before in our years of being together. I stopped her and asked her what's up with that. I kind of put the pieces together TBH, but I wanted her to confirm. She played dumb and just said she felt like saying it. I straight up asked her if this was about the other night and she denied it. At that point, I was completely turned off and just didn't have sex with her. She keeps bringing up my size when it comes to sex, and I've told her I don't like being patronized like this. I know I'm not big, especially nowhere near as big as the other guy was, well according to her hand gestures. She keeps bringing my size up, and at this point I told her that the second she brings it up, I'm done with sex. At one point, she was riding me and mentioned my size and I straight up told her to get off. Update, AITA for telling my GF to stop saying my penis is big. We broke up, so I had one final, calm, talk. I told her that I did not like her comments about my big penis. That even if she meant them, I just can't believe her, and that if she's just trying to boost up my confidence, it's just not working. She seemed to accept it and we came to an agreement. Sadly the next time we had sex she said it again and at that point I was actually mad. I told her I just don't know how to get through to her that this isn't something I like. She got defensive and started yelling at me, saying that I should just believe her and that she doesn't like being treated like a liar. Honestly, we just started fighting and the cherry on tip was that she straight up said, maybe if your dick wasn't so small I wouldn't be talking about other guys. I knew it was over at that point. I just left the convo after telling her we were done. Honestly, even if she didn't mean it, I just can't deal with this anymore. Edit, I feel like a lot of you need to read the previous post. But to summarize, the reason I don't want her to call my penis big is because she was lying. She had never done that until she noticed I was bothered when she was talking to her friends about a huge dick she had while being all giddy about it. I thought she was full of shit when she said my dick is big, something she had never said before and it was bothering me. Stories number 25. AITA for finally snapping at my ex's girlfriend after constant passive-aggressive comments. I, 29F, was invited to a friend's barbecue. My ex, Jake, 30M, and I broke up about 2 years ago. It was mutual, we both agreed we weren't right for each other long-term, and since we share a close friend group, we've stayed civil and occasionally see each other at gatherings. It's usually fine. Jake's been dating Sophie, 26F, for about 6 months. I don't know her well, but every time we've been around each other, she seems to go out of her way to make little passive-aggressive jabs at me, stuff like, wow, you're still single? That's brave, or, must be nice having so much free time without kids. I've always let it slide to avoid drama. A bit more info, even though we broke up, there have been multiple moments where it's obvious Jake isn't fully moved on. For one, he still finds excuses to text me random stuff, like sending memes or asking about old inside jokes we had. He'll accidentally bring up memories from when we were together when we're in a group, or mention songs and places that meant something to us. On top of that, a few mutual friends have let slip that he's told them he still has feelings, or at least isn't fully over our relationship. Nothing inappropriate while he's with Sophie, as far as I know, but it's clear there are lingering feelings there, and I think Sophie might sense it too, which is probably part of the reason she's so weirdly hostile toward me. Back to the story. Today Sophie was at it again. Every time I was within earshot, she'd drop little digs like, "Some people just can't move on, huh?" or, "Guess it takes some people longer to grow up." I ignored it for hours, but then toward the end of the night, she made another comment, "Well, not everyone can handle being in a healthy relationship." That was it for me. I turned to her and said, "You're right, it takes a special kind of person to date a guy still hung up on his ex." It went dead silent. Sophie looked stunned, Jake looked beyond uncomfortable, and a couple of our friends awkwardly tried to change the subject. I left soon after because I didn't want things to get worse. She was making digs at me all night and I finally stood up for myself. But part of me feels like maybe I went too far by throwing that in her face, even though it's true. I never planned to use what Jake said done like that, and now I wonder if I made it unnecessarily messy. So Reddit. AITA for finally snapping at my ex's girlfriend after constant passive-aggressive comments. Update, AITA for finally snapping at my ex's girlfriend after constant passive-aggressive comments. Hey again, Reddit, just wanted to post a quick update since a lot happened. Well, I'm still kind of processing it, but it feels worth sharing. So, after I left the barbecue, and posted, I got a flurry of texts from mutual friends mostly along the lines of, "Damn, that was awkward but also overdue." Apparently, everyone noticed Sophie's digs throughout the day, and more than one person told me they were surprised I lasted as long as I did before finally saying something. Jake, for what it's worth, hasn't said a single word to me. Not an apology, not a, "Hey, that was a lot," nothing. Radio silence. But I did get a very long, very dramatic message from Sophie last night basically accusing me of trying to sabotage her relationship and calling me emotionally manipulative. I didn't respond. I don't see the point, especially because here's the kicker. I've actually been seeing someone for a few months now. His name's Daniel. He's thoughtful, mature, low drama, and most importantly, not still caught up on an ex. We've been keeping things fairly private while we found our footing, but last night after the chaos of the barbecue I posted a pic of us to the friend group chat. Just us smiling at a coffee shop. Totally normal. Within the hour, Sophie left the chat. Anyway, Daniel has been incredibly supportive about everything, and honestly, I think seeing that photo, and realizing that I have 100% moved on, was the final crack in whatever illusion Sophie was holding on to. One of our mutuals mentioned that things were not going well between her and Jake. Which, yeah. That tracks. So yeah, I don't feel bad about what I said anymore. Maybe I could have been softer, but sometimes the truth is sharp and people don't like how it feels. Thanks again for all the response. Reading through the comments really helped me feel like I wasn't just being petty or reactive. I'm good now. Actually, I'm better than good. And Daniel brings me coffee and emotional security, so that's a win. Stories number 26. Entitled Neighbor Demands I Move My Car from My Own Driveway Because It's Ruining Her View. So this just happened a few days ago. I live in a small suburban neighborhood and have a perfectly normal driveway in front of my house where I park my car. Nothing fancy, just a Toyota, not a monster truck or anything. One afternoon, my neighbor, let's call her Karen, comes over, looking visibly annoyed. I thought maybe I left my garbage bins out or something, but nope. She says, "Can you please park your car somewhere else? I like to sit on my porch and your car is messing up the view from my chair." I actually laughed at first, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. She genuinely expected me to park somewhere else in my own house's driveway just so her porch view could be better. I told her politely, at first, that this is my property and my driveway, and I'm not going to inconvenience myself just because she wants an aesthetic experience, sipping her iced tea. She stormed off muttering about how some people have no consideration. I'm still baffled. The audacity is unreal. Stories number 27. My husband, 27M, backed out on something that meant the world to me, 26F. My husband and I are both lawyers. Our lives are intense, we work long hours, rarely go out, and usually just decompress at home together, movies, gaming, co-working sessions. We're close. He's truly my best friend. One of my childhood dreams has always been to see the Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs. He knows that. This year, I asked if he would come with me and made him promise he wouldn't cancel if I bought the tickets. He agreed. I was over the moon. I spent $700 for both tickets for the Friday game, way more than I'd usually spend, but I justified it because, 1, it was meaningful to me, and, 2, it would be his first time too. I talked about it all week. I was so excited to share this with him, but this morning, he woke up late because he'd been working non-stop since Sunday. It threw off his whole day. He was frustrated and was annoyed with me for not calling to wake him up since he woke up at 11 a.m. because he worked until very late yesterday. I had early meetings and couldn't, but we usually call each other every morning to plan our day together and help each other. We've been doing this for years. So we didn't really talk during the day because he needed to focus and he told me he was mad at me. Then about an hour ago, he texted me saying he can't come to the game Friday. No big emergency, no trial, just that he's too behind on work and doesn't want to fall further behind. He said he tried to make it work, but couldn't and spent an hour trying to figure out his schedule but just can't. He's already booked with work Saturday and all day Sunday. The thing is, I spent hours last weekend to figure out his calendar with him on FaceTime to make sure he could deal with coming. He also offered to pay me back, which completely missed the point. I've been crying for over an hour. It's not about the money. It's that he didn't call, didn't even seem to feel bad, and clearly didn't grasp how much this night meant to me. His reaction was just, go with someone else. But I didn't want someone else. I wanted him, and I feel like, I know the drill. I'm also a lawyer. There's no valid reason to cancel on me unless there's something unexpected that comes up, and not for something I was so excited about. I feel so sad and let down, but I might be overreacting. How would you react? Edit. He didn't answer my text since 10 p.m. yesterday. I texted him, I'm fucked disappointed and hurt, so at least chpurais pa dire j pa te claire. It meant a lot for me and I wanted that night avec toi. You're my best friend. I wanted that night to be with you. I don't care about the money. C'est l'effort, le geste, l'intention. On this note, I'll leave you to your work. Have a good night. What should I do? Some of you guys told me to text him that if he's trying to teach me a lesson it's a bad way of doing it and he shouldn't, because I will definitely build resentment towards him. I'm his first love and I truly think that me waking him up and looking out after him is a standard now for him and he's mad about it. And to explain to him that choosing work over this event has consequences since it's an event and memories that we could build together, etc. etc. Stories number 28. Whipped for considering suing my boyfriend's friends for destroying my purse. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I recently bought an authentic designer purse. I realize the privilege I have to do so, but I work an extremely demanding job that requires I work very long hours and get compensated well to do so. It's something I've wanted my entire life and I've finally reached a point where I can afford to do it. Not super relevant, but I grew up poor, so in a way it was cathartic to me to buy something frivolous that I really wanted, which is partially why it means so much to me. I've had this purse less than a month and have only worn it out twice, once to a work event and once to a nice dinner we went on with my boyfriend and his friends this last weekend. We were hanging out at my boyfriend's friend's house after the dinner and I hung my purse on the chair behind me. At this point I trusted everyone in the house and wasn't really concerned about it. We've all been hanging out for years now. We moved to another room right next to the one we were in to play a game. When I came back, my purse was right where I left it. When we left for the night, I grabbed it and thought it felt heavier but didn't look inside of it until I went to unload it when we got home. For some reason, someone thought it would be funny to put uncovered red Jell-O shots into my purse with white interior where they proceeded to leak. The entire inside was stained a splotchy pink shade, and to say I was livid is an understatement. We're all between 30 to 60. We have some older folks that are family friends of people in the group that hang out with us sometimes, so everyone is old enough to not do something so stupid. I attempted to clean it to no avail. My boyfriend reached out to the group chat that has about half of his friends in it and asked if anyone knew who had done it. One person admitted they saw someone do it and told us who. It was one of the older members of the group who is known for messing with people's belongings, but never to this degree. For example, when we went swimming last summer he filled the pockets of my shorts up with Chex Mix. It was annoying but didn't really damage anything. Also, no one really finds his antics funny. In my opinion it's common sense to refrain from putting red goo, that turns liquidy when warm, into a white bag, but he claims that he was just being funny and didn't think they would leak. I asked him for money to either repair the bag or replace it and he claims he does not have that much money. He says the bag looked cheap, so he didn't think it would be a big deal even if the shots had leaked. I know that he has ample assets, multiple sports cars, $1 million home, etc., and can find a way to compensate me for what he had damaged. When I pointed this out, he told me that it was my fault for bringing around an expensive bag and that something could have easily been spilled on it instead. While I would have been upset if that had been the case, obviously, I wouldn't have been anywhere near as upset because this had been done intentionally and is now being blamed on me. I can take responsibility and say I shouldn't have left it out of my sight, but I knew no one in the house would steal it or the contents in it, and I never would have thought someone would fill it with sticky red goo regardless of how expensive or cheap it was. I told him that he needed to find the money or I would be suing him for the damages, and a couple people in the group think I'm going too far. My boyfriend is thankfully as angry as I am, and I don't want this situation to come at the cost of any of his friendships, but I also want compensated for my property that I worked my butt off for. Wibta, if I take legal action, or should I try some other method to recoup my losses? I personally don't think so because this wasn't an accident, but some people seem to think I'm going too nuclear. Update: I had my appointment to have the bag looked at. They would be able to mostly repair it, however it's likely that the liquid seeped through the lining and may have damaged the bag beyond repair. They wouldn't know until they really got into it. Even so, the smell of crusty old jello and liquor would likely linger and deteriorate any resale value the purse may have in the future. For these reasons, I will be going after him for the entire value of the purse. Thank you to the person who mentioned that this could hurt resale value in the future. I didn't even think of this. I asked the person that looked at it and she told me the severity of the staining and odor definitely would. Thankfully it is not a limited edition bag and I can currently buy a new one. Hopeful that this doesn't change anytime soon, as I really loved my bag. I am going to reach out to my attorney in the morning to see if he can help me or refer me to someone who can. I can update again with what they say, but I am pretty sure I have a strong leg to stand on. To answer some common questions: why don't I kick this guy from the friend group? Easiest answer here is that it isn't my friend group. This man is a family friend of one of my boyfriend's friends. He truthfully isn't around much, but it seems like whenever he is he causes problems, so I'm not sure why he is still invited, even occasionally. My boyfriend and I made it clear we would never be in the same place as him ever again, which kind of puts the ball in everyone else's court. 2. Does he not like you or does he torment everyone? He has a weird fixation with me mostly, but he does also torment most of the women in the group. I mentioned this in the comments but it may have gotten buried, but during my first interaction with him I had left my phone out while I had quickly gone to the bathroom. At some point he snatched my phone up, went somewhere else in the house, took a picture of his butthole, and replaced my phone in the same spot. I found the picture a few hours later when I opened my camera roll to show someone my dog, and my boyfriend asked me horrified why I had a hairy butthole in my phone. I was mortified and had no explanation, and it wasn't until this man was hammered that he admitted he did it. We were all disgusted and he stopped being invited for a while because my boyfriend refused to be around him. Last year he started being invited again and immediately started pranking me in harmless ways. He liked to do this with new girlfriends especially, I noticed, and I am one of the newest in the friend group, even though it's been a few years now. One of my boyfriend's friends started dating a new girl and she got a similar treatment, but nothing as severe. He really likes to tamper with our clothes mostly. I don't know what the motive is, but he doesn't usually mess with the guys, just the women. 3. Did he steal anything? No. As I had mentioned, he's wealthy and I don't think he'd really do anything like that. He doesn't seem like the type to get a thrill from theft, rather he wants to annoy women. I only kept my credit card, a small amount of cash, car keys, and a sentimental keychain in the bag. Everything was sticky and coated in goo, but everything was also there. Small edit. A lot of people have taken to accusing my boyfriend of some nasty things, setting this up, not defending me, being spineless, etc. I just wanted to take a second to say none of this is true and is mentioned throughout the post. The first instance of this man being weird, my boyfriend screamed at him about how what he had done to me was awful whether or not he saw it as a joke. We left immediately after and he told his friends that he did not want to be invited when that man was around. It took several years for it to blow over and for his friends to attempt to have us all together again for a birthday party. My boyfriend made it clear that if he ever did anything to harm me again that would be it, and he promised he wouldn't. After all of that situation the offender did calm down towards me a lot until now, which is why I didn't feel that worried about him and was comfortable leaving my purse out of my sight for 30 minutes. My boyfriend not physically assaulting this man isn't him being spineless, it's him being mature and realizing that hurting him was only going to result in him getting charges that would impact his career and life. Now that this has all happened, my boyfriend has defended me and said we will do everything we need to in order to get me a new purse. It was me that was worried about it causing him to lose friends, as I know this group is very important to him. Update: Wibta for considering suing my boyfriend's friend for destroying my purse. For those who haven't seen the previous post, I will give a quick summary. My boyfriend's friend, I use this term lightly, my boyfriend never really cared for him but he was kind of in the friend group, likes to prank women by messing with their belongings. He put red jello shots into my new designer purse, which proceeded to leak and ruin the purse. See my post history for the full rundown. A lot of people asked for an update, so here it is. Update: I got a quote for repair, but it was likely futile as the smell of cheap liquor would likely remain, even if only faintly. Additionally, as a kind commenter pointed out, doing so drastically affects resale value should I ever choose to sell it. For these reasons, I was pursuing him for a replacement purse. I laid all of the information out in writing to him and had my boyfriend hand-deliver it to him. To summarize, I broke the cost of the replacement down to the penny and threatened legal action should he not replace what he damaged. The next day one of my boyfriend's other friends showed up with a check made payable to me for the entire amount. I'm sure you all wish it was more exciting than that, but I for one am just glad it's over. The only thing that could be seen as funny is the memo line on the check, which was, "See you next Tuesday, winky face." Funny. I deposited the check and it cleared, so thankfully he didn't try to play any additional games by having it bounce. I think he knew I was serious and didn't want any more costs adding up should I take him to court. So yeah, that's it. One other quick thing about my boyfriend, since most people didn't read the end of my OG post. People accused him of so many nasty things. Setting up the whole thing, not protecting me enough. One person even theorized that my boyfriend was having a homosexual affair with this guy. None of these things is true. My boyfriend really isn't close with this guy. He's been around him occasionally, but they never hang out 1v1 or talk outside of when he's in the big group. He's gotten into arguments with him regarding how he treated me in the past and was firm with his stance on us not being around him anymore after this incident. It seems like people think that if he's not resorting to violence, he's a bad guy, but I personally think the opposite. We both have good careers, and him punching this guy would have just led to an arrest and charges, and we don't want that. My boyfriend is a great guy that stood by me and helped me with all of this and was definitely not involved. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for following.